Okay, I think we're live now, aren't we? I'm pretty sure I've clicked all the buttons, set phasers to stun, because I'm stunning, if you will, right? And I'm pretty sure we're live. How's everyone doing today? It's Monday, ladies and gentlemen. We got some shows for you. We got a week full of content. I'm excited. It's gonna be great. We got a great show coming up in about 30 minutes. 30 minutes, kings and queens, okay? But you know what? I was like, you know what? I want to talk to you. I want to spend some time with my chatters. So let's go live a little early and talk to those who show up as soon as I hit the live button. I mean, what better fans can I have than that? So first of all, Rabid Wombat on Twitch, you are indeed first, and you're proud to post first with Progressive Victory. Well, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. $5 super chat of a dancing bird? What is that? Something's dancing on my screen, and it was for $5. So thank you for that. I do appreciate it. What is that? Hold on, let me click it. No, I don't want to report it. Yeah, I don't know what it is, gang. It's a little pelican. It's a dancing blob. Yeah, fair enough. That's about as best as we can describe it here. Okay. So let me give you guys the rundown on what tonight should look like. So for about 30 minutes, we're gonna do a pre-show. We're going to be just talking about whatever the hell you guys want. Whatever comes to my mind. We've gained a title, gang. I have been bestowed, right, a title. Let me pull this up so I can see you guys. So you guys can see. Hold up. Let me get it up on screen. Okay. So you guys can see. Give me 1 second. Let me adjust the things here. Here we go. Put that as my new banner. Get this up and running from our dear friend and biggest fan, President Sunday. We are now, I think Wick might legitimately be one of the most disgusting human beings alive. Move over, Hitler. Okay, well, I guess Hitler's dead, so I guess he doesn't count. Okay, so fair enough. Not now, Netanyahu. See you later, Sinwar. Take a hike, Trump. Wick is the man of the hour. The most disgusting, one of the most disgusting human beings alive. You may ask yourself, why? Why would Sunday say something like that? What has Wick done that makes him one of the most disgusting human beings alive? And to that I say, I don't know. You tell me. So for a few minutes, okay, we won't do this too long, but I'm curious what my chatters, my dear chatters will say. Why is Wick, in your opinion, one of the quote-unquote most disgusting humans alive? Let's hear it. What do we got in the tank, gang? Why not invite Sunday on to ask him? Because I would rather, well, no, I can't say that on Twitch, unfortunately, what I'd rather do. But let's just say I have no interest in talking to that person. Why would I? He's boring. I want my audience to have interesting content. Multiculturalist James says, "Hey there, Wick. How are you doing?" I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Keto Burrito says, "It's because you're a wizard and an untrained by Hogwarts wizard and thus illegal and disgusting." Fair. You know what? That's true. I did not learn my spells, my enchantments from Hogwarts. I am one of those illegals, if that's how you want to portray me as. Fair enough. Nerdy Rodent says, "I think it's because he is such a centrist." Are you talking about me or are you talking about President Sunday? Nerdy Rodent says, "Down with Wick, #reasons." Look, we got these people, for lack of a better term, in a prayer circle, okay? And they've been praying on my downfall for a long, long time. We got some other fun little screenshots to show you for the pre-show, but it is what it is. Ant says, Mudbloods be simping. You know what? I need some simps. Nothing wrong with simping for one of them wacky wick wizards, okay? There's nothing wrong with it. We don't judge in this house, okay? We don't judge. Conserve liberalism says, maybe he has OCD and is upset with your uncentered scenes like I am. Fair enough. The gray vertical line on the right has been driving you crazy forever. You know what? You know what? That's a fair reason to hate me, okay? Is that better? I don't know if that's better, okay? But here it is. Parallax for the tier 1 sub for 18 months. 18 months, my God. A year and a half. That's 2 babies that we've had together. To be honest, your thoughts on Cake are deplorable, and you couldn't defend yourself from a 3-legged kitten if it was arguing with you about PV. But other than that, you're just regular levels of disgusting. Well, okay, fair enough. Thank you for the 18-month sub. Really appreciate it. I'm going to help in plotting your downfall from conservative liberalism. You know what? They do need help. They could use some assistance. That is true. But you know what? We hope they get the help that they need. Unfortunately for them, the help that they need is therapy, or something along the likes of that. But, you know. What a special day today. It is a special day today. It is a special day. Let's see what else we have when it comes to things to say. Let's see. Oh yeah, they're watching me right now. Little drama goblins. I can summon them. No one doubt my abilities as a wizard. Okay, just say. Why are you talking about Sunday? Oh, it's not as if he doesn't take shots at me every few seconds or few days. I'm so bored talking about Sunday. Well, he keeps talking about me. I have to address it. If I said nothing or just let them walk all over me, that'd be the thing. But this is the genuine dishonesty of these people. Here, we're going to rant a little bit. These people, and I use people in a very loose sense, are hypocrites and liars. Let's look at the record. This is what they say when they think they're in private, okay? They'll come on streams. They'll act reasonable. They'll act like, oh, it's not a big deal. Yeah, I'm just calm, things like this. And then let's see what they say in private. Let's look. We have the records here, okay? Let's check it out. See what they have to say. Oh, here's one. Here's a good one. This is from Kilo, our friend Kilo. Remember, he claims he doesn't really have beef with me. He made a video recently, a hit piece on PV, included a lot of stuff about me, but it wasn't about me, right? Like, quote unquote. It's what he has to say. I'll read it direct to you. I'm going to start spreading agitational rumors about the streamer known as Wick TV, aka the death of certainty. I am certain that his channel will die. I think we can all understand how maybe no one should ever fucking take you seriously again. Sure. Imagine, just imagine for a minute if I had said something like this. If I had said something like this, and I never have, by the way, I don't need to make shit up about the people I don't like. I don't need to. I could just repeat their words back to them. Why would you do this, by the way? I have some theories. I'm not exactly sure, but I have some theories about why they do this. One, it might be the Israel-Palestine stuff. That might be just it. It might be, because all this started to happen after October 7th, mostly. Sunday excluded from that, right? But he did ramp it up to 11 after that. Let's see what else. Another theory, and these are just theories I have, is with Kilo especially, I basically ended, or at least I had a hand in ending his little streamer daddy's career, Mr. Girl, and I think he's been salty about that the whole time. That might be a reason, right? Uh, Another possibility is these people are simply mad that they don't have this insane level of control that they think that they are entitled to over me, and I don't bow to their whims. So they've decided that they can't have that, and my channel needs to go because how dare I not say yes or agree to all their demands or like go with their insane theories. You know, how dare I, right? Like, look, the people I work with and the people I respect allow me to say no without repercussion. I can say no to things without repercussion. I don't lose any money over it. I don't lose friendships over it. Unfortunately, with this gang, that's not the case. If you say no to them, they will make sure that there are repercussions. But this has been something that, like, it bothers me too, right? Like, these people will say one thing in public, but then they'll act other ways when they think no one's looking or no one cares, or they think that I can't see it. But look, especially in the streamer space, even the things you say in places you think are private, they get back. They get out to people, okay? And now those screenshots, they're not from like some private Discord call or something, right? These are a public server. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. Man, baby, maybe stream. That is coming up in about 20 minutes. 20 minutes. But it is until 6:30. But until 6:30, we're going to talk a little bit. John Yulin says, Wick, I'm facing a 10-year prison sentence in Russia for discrediting the armed forces of the Russian Federation and for the dissemination of false information related to the conduct of the Russian armed forces in Ukraine. Well, don't go to Russia, buddy. And if you're in Russia, I hope you can get out. That's the thing. Oh, look. We got Bug Squander. Hey, Wick, remember when you were crying about someone recording a call and you banned a bunch of people from your server? Join the club, Tooth Cup? Yeah, because in my server, I have a rule that in the VCs, you cannot, except for the exclusion one is the backstage, right? If you're waiting backstage, you can be on stream. But in the private VCs, the rule is you can't record calls. They do it. I enforce my rules. I stand by it. Let's see. Becca says, Wick, I tweeted publicly that you should debate Sunday because it seems like that was the implication from your Discord. I don't got any beef with that. I don't care about that. You're wrong, but fair. Let's see. Nerdy Rodent says, hands out popcorn. Yeah, fair enough. Who are these people anyway? They're mostly Mr. Girl Orbiters, at least with the kilo and that thing. But they're spicy chatters for most part. Who cares about incels? You know what? That's a good question, May. Who cares about incels? And we're going to find out today. Again, this is about 20 minutes from now. We're going to have some incels on. So we have, this is a plan. We have 2 incels coming on. We have 2 women. And we have 1 normie. So it's going to be 2, 2, 2. 2 normies, me and this other guy, 2 incels, and then 2 women. And we're going to be talking about, just like you said, who cares about incels? And I think we should care about incels. Incels are people. Incels deserve to be heard. Now, again, that's not me excusing their bad actions. Are they really a normie if they come on this stream? Well, fair enough, but they're as normie as we can get. Beckett says, okay, well, I just think you guys keep going back and forth. May as well make some money. I am making money and content out of it. I just don't need him for that. And in fact, I think I can make more money and have more interesting content sans Sunday. Who the fuck cares about what Sunday says, right? I mean, look, his subscribers are, what, 3 times my size? But he only gets a few more views than me. It's very comparable. I think in our latest little tweet off, he got ratioed every single fucking time. And again, I have less followers than him overall. Does this matter? It does to Sunday, which is why I'm bringing it up. But it is what it is. So May says, I come on these streams for entertainment. Got randomly recommended it through the live recommendations. Interesting. So, May, what other content do you watch that makes it so that you get recommended me? I'm just very curious. And again, the show will come. We're doing a pre-show thing, okay? It's at 6:30. I just want you to know. I'm just talking to my audience right now. But in about 20 minutes, a little less than that, we'll bring on the guests of the show and we will have the panel. I'm here for Pee Wee streamer drama. Give me more. Well, what do you want, News User? It's it's not very exciting drama. The big thing, the big thing, is they just don't like me, and I think that's it. And that's fine. You don't have to like me, but I don't know if you are saying stuff like you're gonna just make shit up and start spreading rumors about someone to kill their channel. No one should ever take anything you say seriously again. I mean, why would you ever say that? Like, even from a strategic perspective, even from just like a, well, I want take people to take me seriously perspective. Once people read that or see that you said that, they are not going to trust you ever again, because why would they? And not just about me. If he's willing to do this about me, what else is he willing to lie about? Just to frankly manufacture? It's a good question. And it's one that I think is fair to ask. But, yeah. May says, if I don't like someone, I just ignore them or block them. No use in responding. There's some use in responding. One, I like to fight. That's one of the reasons I do the debate panels. I enjoy it, okay? It is fun. I have fun, okay? I like it. It's fun for me. So that's one. The second one is you can monetize it a little bit. Is one of those things. Let's see. Is anyone having a thing? Sorry, I just get DMs sometimes during these things. Debating is fun sometimes. What kind of things do you like to debate, May? What time is the debate starting? 6:30, so in about 15 minutes, Charizard fan. In about 15 minutes, I'll start pulling them in. I got one backstage already, and hopefully the rest will show up. Origin says, Kilo's just butt hurt. He did really poor on J-Stalk's stream with you. Fair enough. Parallax says, Beckett, I'm finna box you. Okay, fair enough. You guys can have your little boxing match on the side. Atheism and some political issues. Sometimes I get burned out on it, though. Yeah, you need a break. You need variety of content. Like, there's a reason I do D&D content as well as political streams. It's because if all I talked about all day, every day was politics, it would get boring. It would get stale. There's only so many political issues we could talk about in so many different ways where you're just like, I don't know which way to go. But is Sekrios one of the incels? No, Sekrios is not an incel to my knowledge. He's one of the normies. So the incels we have coming on today are, let me read their names. Well, they're linked in my description, okay? I linked them in the description. There's Just a Copy, this Just a Copy guy, and there's this other guy, what's his name? See, streamer mode makes it hard to read their names. Just a guy, Mincy, something like that. We'll find out when he gets here. But yeah, no, Sekrios is not an incel that I'm aware of. Sekrios is not a normie. What do you mean he's not a normie? He's normie as we get. Jonathan asks, Wick, are you and non-smoker friends? That squabble was squashed a while ago, right? We're not friends, but I'm cordial to the guy. He's apologized for accusing me of getting his PayPal deleted. So we've buried the hatchet on that. Are we friends? We don't hang out. I have substantive differences with his opinions on things, but I respect him for being willing to come on my show and being willing to defend his beliefs. So I will say that. Keto Burrito says, I'm here for your culture talk. Politics are boring and stupid, so not very interesting. Well, thank you. I'm glad you like the culture talk. And that's another reason I do variety, is because my audience likes different things. There are some people who tune in when I do the gender war bullshit. There are some people who tune in when I do the D&D shit. And there are some people who tune in when I do the politics shit. And everyone has different tastes. And I want to make sure that the people who watch me at least get something during the week that they can enjoy. Ben Note says, Wick, are you an incel, Volcel, or a Chad? I'm just a normie. I'm not an incel. I'm not a Volcel either. Am I a Chad? I don't think I'm a Chad either. I'm just a normal guy. Though I guess it really depends how you what is a Chad? And this is one of the things I'm going to ask the incels when they're on. They use a lot of terminology I'm not familiar with. And so we're gonna take some time to explore some of that. But I have some really good guests today. I'm actually really proud of the people in the lineup I got. Ghosty's gonna be here. She's been on my show before, but everyone else is a first-time guest. So the person who helped me put this together, who reached out to the incels that she works with or works, she talks to, I guess, on a regular basis, was a woman by the name of Maeve. She's talked to Irrelevant before, back in the day. But she reached out and she wanted to do a show with me. And so I was like, you know what? It should be interesting. Let's get together and make it happen. He's, I guess, talked to them on several occasions, and I think it's she's here to kind of help guide the discussion down interesting paths. But I'm excited to see how she'll do. We also have, again, the 2 incels she brought. That should be fun. And Sacrios has been wanting on my show for a while, so we brought him in as well. And I think everyone here has something to say. Everyone here has an interesting perspective, and we'll see, right, at the end of the day. But we still got about 10 more minutes. So is there anything else that you guys want to discuss with me for about 10 minutes while we kind of do my thing? Lola's my new dog, okay? Lola, she's doing well. Synconaut says, Quick, can you watch out for the debate so that it doesn't get stuck on a single topic? I can try to keep it moving, yeah, but sometimes the topic is really good. Beckett, yeah, can we talk? If you want to talk for about 10 minutes, jump backstage, I'll pull you in. The last one, getting stuck on school teachers. Okay, I think I know what you're talking about, Synconaut. Are you talking about the porn debate we had? Yeah, I can make sure it doesn't get stuck on a hypothetical. May says, do you know who Sneeko is and that he got falcon punched by a bouncer? I saw that. I do know who Sneeko is. I saw he got punched. I'm not sure the details, but generally I'm against violence. Origin of Logo says, don't consider talking with Sunday until he joins your server and begs you to talk. Okay, you're here, Beckett? What up, G? Oh, you're muted on your...
Hey,
oh,
give
there
me
you
a
are.
sec. Give me a sec. Let me give you a camera.
Yeah, just again, full disclosure, we got about
Okay.
10 minutes. So if you need to get something out, get it
No,
out.
that's fine.
Okay?
No, I think yeah, okay. So let's talk. I'm not Sunday. Let's just talk about like I want to know why you won't talk to him because I've only seen this through recent Twitter interactions.
Sure. What do you want to know exactly?
So like I mean, you've always been
Because I
pretty
don't
open
want
to
to.
like
I mean,
well,
like,
yeah,
that's the end of the
but
day, right?
well, sure, but I mean like it's usually a bit more than I don't want to. You've like previous interactions, Wick. I mean, I've known you for years, mate. At this point, or at least coming up to
About a year,
um,
year and a half.
it's longer. It's longer than that, but
Fair enough.
it's yeah, it's been quite a while. But like you said, oh, I'd have open doors with people like Lav. I'd have open doors with people like Max.
Yeah,
You
but
know, people that you've
there's a limit, right? There's a limit where
sure.
if you, because I did try working with Sunday, right? Initially,
It
after
was
the Mr.
pretty
Girl thing,
successful.
I reached out, and
Uh-huh.
he may have reached out to me. I forget the order of operations here, but we got together and we decided, hey, we have very big differences, especially on like the erudite stuff, right?
Hmm.
Because we'd fought before, and I was like, okay, well, you know what? Let's let's build a bridge, maybe. Let's see if we can show him a better way. But through the course of interacting with him over many months, I realized that he kept going back to his old ways of just being a pretentious little asshole. And so I was like, you know what? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of him using me as a vector to attack other people. I'm tired of being attacked because I associate with other people by him. I not enjoy our discussions. I'm getting nothing out of this that just like that overcomes my reticence to be like to work with this guy.
Okay, but we're not talking about working with Sunday. We're talking about
Talking with
the
him.
same shit. Well, no, we're talking about debating him, aren't we? Realistically speaking, we're talking about like and like we're talking about you having a sit down conversation, probably moderated by somebody with Sunday. It's not a working together thing. And right now, because
Yeah, I
you are
just
engaging
don't.
with him, but you are engaging with him,
Yeah,
right?
in the way I want to.
Sure, but it's also a way that's going to catch you criticism because it looks like
I
okay, so
don't.
these DMs in your
I don't
Discord,
care.
and you don't have to care.
Sure.
I'm not saying you have to. I'm just
Okay.
giving you the perspective. Like the DMs in your Discord that I saw were like Sunday goes, "Oh, I have this thing." I'd have to pull them up, and we only got a limited amount of time. Maybe we can do it another time. And
Sure.
then you were like, "Oh, he knows where my DMs are," which seems like a clear indication of you saying in your own space he could DM me. He's never reached out. He reached us out, and then you're like, "Well, I don't want to speak to him." It's like, well, why say that? That's not necessarily something for Sunday.
So what
It's like,
happened is that someone
mhm.
I forget. I think
Mhm.
it was Lisa. Lisa is a fascist in my Discord? Like you know who Lisa
Yeah,
is,
and one
right?
other person. Yeah.
Yeah. Lisa said, "Hey, so, do you know Sunday wants to debate you?" And I said, "No, he never reached out to me." And
Okay.
then Sunday took it and said, Wick said if I DM'd him, he'd accept my debate challenge, which I never said. I never even implied. I simply made the, again, observation that if he really wanted to get a hold of me, he wouldn't go through an intermediary. He has my DMs. But that wasn't consent. That wasn't saying, yes, I'll debate him. That was simply saying, I'm just
Yeah, but
confused. You wanting to reach
you're
out to
not
me.
saying, "Oh no, I'm not interested." And Sunday knows that. That's why he's
Yeah,
not.
that's
He's
not.
no. You said my DMs are open. You're the guy who you had said to me. I
Yeah,
believe in like open debate and
yeah,
challenging ideas and good ideas. And like with Sunday, it's not just the personal beef. You have arguments over Israel Palestine. You have arguments over the way his conduct has been within the space. You have seen Sunday cave in dramas and run.
Give me
You
one
have
second. I'm
been
helping one of my guests get their tech
sure.
stuff. I'm listening, but
Sure.
if it looks like I'm doing other things, I
Yeah,
am.
no, that's
All right,
fine. Take your time. But
just making sure.
you have hosted some of the panels which Sunday has run from. You've again known him for a decent amount of time. It just seems odd that now you've hit this line where you won't talk to him in a space where like Brianna Wu will have a conversation with Queeman,
Sure.
where Connor will still engage. And Sunday is ultimately, I mean, we can argue back and forth about like theory and everything else, but he is somebody who you have potentially like deep disagreements with on his positions towards
Yeah,
Israel and Palestine,
I
and that
just,
could be
yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and I understand
yeah.
it. But there comes a point where if someone's not an honest actor, if I don't believe they're actually going to have an honest conversation with me, I don't care.
Well, that's why we have it moderated, isn't
Well,
it?
it doesn't even moderated. I don't I don't want to waste my time. It's not going to be an honest conversation. I don't believe he's an honest actor. I don't believe that the things he's saying is something he actually believes in. This is the only belief I think that Sunday has. Which way's the wind blowing? Which position can I take that will make me the most money with my audience that I have cultivated? And that's it. And therefore,
Are there
I do not care what he has to say. I do not care what he thinks. And I have no interest in engaging with him because at the end of the day, I can forgive all that. I can forgive the opportunism. There's plenty in this space. I can forgive him being like an asshole. There's plenty in this
Mhm.
space. I can forgive a lot. But the one thing I cannot forgive is, my God, he's boring to talk to.
Okay, look, Sunday,
That's it.
whatever you want to say. No, no,
That's it.
you've enjoyed many of your conversations with Sunday. I I think that you should consider. You don't have to take my advice. I think you should consider whether a moderated debate of any kind, if you're going to keep engaging. Because I'll say this, like
I only come at me when
I'll have
he tweets at me. When he tweets
no,
at me, I'm
no,
going to
that's
kick him
not
across
true.
the room
That,
every
that
fucking time. And that's just what's going to happen.
Well, it's not kicking across the room, is it? It's you clearly
No, it
having a
is.
reaction
I clean him
to
up.
Sunday saying things to you, and that clear reaction is something that energy can be channeled into actually having the conversation with them. I think you do well. I think it would be interesting. Right now, Sunday is riding high, and frankly,
Is he?
from your
He got
yeah,
like fucking blown. Look, the ICJ is currently writing up charges for what I fucking did to him, okay? There are like murals being painted of him in New York City after I kneeled on his neck so hard. He's only riding high in his little fucking gas bubble that everyone outside is seeing him getting blown the fuck out over and over again. And frankly, it's funny to me to do that to him and then not give him an inch
Okay,
of
well, I mean,
oxygen.
I
But
just
I
think
do
this is a
have a
lot of
show in
energy.
like 3
Sure,
minutes, dude.
sure.
So last word is yours. Last word is yours. Go ahead.
Okay. I think this is a lot of energy that you're directing towards an audience and a conversation that would be better served having a direct conversation with Sunday. And I think that, I think that you're more than capable of it, more than experienced enough to do it. And I hope to see it in the future.
Okay. I'll see you later,
Thank
bud.
you.
And you're
Let us.
welcome to come to my show anytime. But yeah.
Thank you,
See you later.
buddy. Have a good evening.
Okay. Well, wasn't that fun, guy? I probably agree with Sunday in so many points, but he is insufferable. Yeah, maybe. Must be a Sunday stan. I don't know who you're talking to, but fair enough. You're both nobodies. What do you mean? Fair enough. No, that's true. Like, the fact that anyone watches me is weird. But I enjoy that you do. So thank you. Let's see. We got about 2 more minutes left. I think anyone with a brain can demolish Sunday. Here's the thing as well. He doesn't always show up. And I'd hate to schedule something and then have my day planned and then he just doesn't show. He's done that a few times to people. I can't trust that he'll be there. It's unfortunate. A Gay Odyssey says more like President Runde. Yeah, that's a meme for a reason. Who was it? What's the guy's name that wanted to debate him on the Gaza genocide? Guy on Twitter. I follow him. They had a debate planned. They had a date set, and then the day comes, the time comes. Sunday just no shows. He went on a fucking hike. He went on a fucking hike. And so this guy's sitting there with his dick in his hand because he prepared to come to have this discussion, to have this debate. And then Sunday's like, oh, no, sorry. It was I forgot. I didn't think you were going to show. Yeah. What's going on? Like, why would I ever want to schedule something with someone who would do that? But, yeah. Let's bring on my guests. Hey, you're live.
Hello.
Hello. I think
Oh.
Mr. Joni still didn't get that we're supposed to join the
Oh, well, hopefully.
Discord.
Where did
He's trying
Maeve
to call
go? Yeah, Maeve went somewhere.
She went back to the backstage.
Okay, don't
Check her
click
back
join
in.
voice. Don't click that. Okay. It'll
What am I
take.
doing?
Okay. Hi.
We're fine here.
Yeah,
we're
we're
fine
good
here.
here. You can turn your
need to click
camera on if you
anything
got it. And I understand if you don't want to use your camera, that's fine too. Let's get our other 2 guests in here. Let me DM them. A moment, please. And then who else are we missing? Ghosty? Okay, I DM'd them. And hopefully we can get them in. How are you guys today? How's everyone doing?
Great.
Good.
I have a sink in my stomach. I'm kind of afraid here.
What are you scared of? Like, what do you think's
I
gonna
am
happen?
scared. I don't know, bro. Listen. Not very good dealing with people online. I mean, I am, but I don't know. I'm just kind of afraid. I don't know.
I have your corner, man. Don't you worry.
You feel cornered. Imagine me. I feel like I'm inside the corner.
Well, hopefully, what's his name? Justin? Is that his name?
Joni
don't
just
know.
said that the link expired for him.
I
for
can
some reason.
DM him a link. Hold on.
I'm not touching anything else.
And anything you click, you're just gonna move channels. Just smile for the camera at this point.
And Ghosty will be here in 1 second. I'm trying to reset. Okay, I was just having a little bit of a discussion with my chat with my audience before this, right? Just some drama stuff, right? But I'm very excited to have this talk because I think it speaks to a lot. There's a question that was asked in my chat, and I think it's worth asking, and I think it showcases the what I want to talk about today. And what they asked was, who cares about incels? Who cares? Why are we having this discussion? Who cares about incels? And I think that speaks volumes, right, to why we need this discussion. But let's wait for our other guests to get here, and then we'll start the discussion.
It's a pretty interesting question.
I mean, yeah. And I don't know, I guess just people who aren't like at least a little bit versed in this whole subject would think that, who cares about incels? Who cares about, well, any of this red pill, manosphere, man issue, like whole drama and whatever. It's kind of normal when you're not involved with this space and maybe your Twitter feed is like popped up with video games or something like that. You're not going to think about like the same subject that we're discussing today, at least.
Sorry,
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm giving people roles, trying to get them to refresh their browser. I'm doing tech support, so you guys talk amongst yourselves while I get everyone in here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think like someone put it like an incel once said, like, if he wasn't an incel, he wouldn't care about incels, which just kind of makes sense, right? It's like we kind of don't have enough bandwidth to care about everything ever. Like we can barely care about ourselves. Like, like things like away from us are difficult to find that, mental capacity to really like think about and then understand and then care.
I agree with the assessment. Yeah, love is a finite resource.
Not only that, I mean, people are generally very selfish with their own mental capacity, so they will not care for something that is not affecting them.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. I think that's why like identity politics was like so big because it was like kind of like making people understand and making people care about different identities so they wouldn't have otherwise. Yeah.
I'm just saying, if incels had the amount of money that these people from identity politics had, I mean, we wouldn't be incels. I'll tell you that much.
That's a good question, and I don't want to get too much into it until we get our last people here. But is incel an identity, and in what case? Like, is it an identity in the same way as being like gay or black or something would be?
It is. I think it's definitely like a label that could be applied both internally and externally, I think.
Personally, I think it is an identity just in that, like, I did a podcast thing about a year ago and, and I couldn't really share it with my friends and family because I'm saying I'm an incel and mainstream societies just kind of associates a lot of shame with being an incel. And, you can't go on a first date or, you can't, because I'm 35 years old and I've never even been on a date before or had a girlfriend before. And I can't just go on a speed dating thing and just be like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm an incel, because it just won't work. So in my opinion, I just in the sense it's not exactly the same as like being gay in the 80s, obviously, but there is a lot of social stigma for just publicly outing yourself as an incel and using your real name and using your real identity. So there is a sense of social stigma, and because of that, like I've seen the incel pride flag and all that stuff. So there are a few similarities, enough for me to say that I do think it's an identity. And
Well,
sorry
but
for coming in late. I'm SnuggleCorey69 on Twitter, and yeah, I had trouble getting in the feed, but now I'm here.
Well, welcome here. And now that we're all here,
Welcome.
well, most of us, I don't know where Ghosty is. She said she's getting ready. Women, right? They're always late. But we'll bring them on soon when they get here. But I just want to
Right.
kind of officially start this show. So give me a moment. I'll introduce the topic, and then I'll give you each a chance to introduce yourselves, and then we'll just get into it. Is there any questions before we begin? Cool.
not really.
No, not
Great.
really.
Well, then, welcome, 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 one and all, to yet another episode of Wick TV, a cross ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And today, we're going to be talking about society and incels. In what ways, if any, has society failed incels? What do incels need or want in order to feel more accepted? And in what ways can we help them, if they want to, not be incels anymore? I think there's a lot to cover here. We're going to get to it, but before we do, I want to give everyone a chance to introduce themselves, tell me who you are, where we can find you, all that. So we're going to give the mic first and foremost to the person who helped me set this up, Maeve. Go ahead.
Hi, some of you here actually already know me, but I'm Maeve. I've been kind of like trying to understand incels for about 4 years now, probably a bit over that. I've written about incels for different publications, so I kind of work like in this area, but not just about incels, but about the manosphere more broadly. But I've been trying really hard to kind of like understand incels from their point of view and like getting my work informed by what they say as opposed to just reading it like other researchers might do on like which is valid, but like on forums I kind of want to hear incels actually talking and like hearing it from them, and I think that like is really important to understanding why this is the situation and what is happening. Yeah, so that's me.
Well, welcome. It's good to see you, and thank you for being here. Next up, we have, and forgive me if I pronounce names wrong, Joanne C. Can I call you Justin or C or something? Do you know who I'm talking about? No?
Joan, you talking to
Joan.
me?
Yeah, thank you, Joan.
Yeah, it's Joan. I'm a nurse. It's kind of like an inside joke because my mom was a nurse, and yeah, it was just like an inside thing. But yeah. So I go by Snuggle Corey 69 on X, and I've done a few podcast interviews about being an incel because I'm 35, never been on a date before, I've never had a girlfriend before, and it's just I have a lot of personal trauma partly to blame for that due to like sexual abuse, and I have PTSD from other things, and I've talked a lot about incels and mental illness, and I've seen the stuff about incels being autistic and stuff. But so I've been an identified incel for about a couple years now, and yeah, that's about all I can think of for the basic intro.
Well, that'll do. Thank you for being here, and I really appreciate you coming on. Next up, no stranger to my show, Ghosty. We're talking incels today and how, if society has failed them. Tell people who you are and just some initial thoughts. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ghosty. The G in Ghosty is spelled with a 6, and it's spelled with 2 I's at the end instead of the Y. I'm on X and YouTube. And I think inceldom is a valid problem, and I think if we want to fix the issue of the amount of incels like on the rise, or just like the incel community and the self deletion and self harm and potential of violence there, which is very low, but the aggression and all that, I think we need to listen to them and validate them. And I think a lot of incels probably feel gaslit, which I'm guilty of doing so myself. And yeah, I think a lot of people in the red pill community, especially, and then also in the radical feminist kind of like TikTok influencer girls, like really prey on this kind of gender war tension that this has all created.
Okay, well, thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to your contribution today. Next up, Sekrios, please.
Oh, you got it right the first time. Congratulations. My name is, well, it says Sekrios on my screen probably. I am a British writer. I have a degree, a diploma of higher education in digital film production. I am not an incel. I had my V card stamped about 10 years ago from this day. I am here because I heard our friend Wick was talking about the subject matter. And I'm going to be honest, I think this issue branches into a lot of other issues, especially as one of you brought up about autistic men. I am autistic myself. So it's kind of a bit of a pet project for me to get involved in this discussion today.
Okay, well, thank you for being here, and we'll get into it as we go. Next up, and last of our guests, I believe, Copy, please.
Hello, everyone. Name's Copy, mid-20s. Been an incel and been involved with the whole incel schmick for like 7 years at this point. My problem, I guess, differently from a lot of people within the incel community, I don't have a problem exactly with autism per se. I'm just that good old classic incel, can't go wrong with that. I'm just ugly. And also something of a kind of a fun fact. I've kind of have been on a adventure these past 7 years to quote unquote revoke my V card, so to speak, and unsuccessfully. Medvedev has been in the end spectrum of a lot of my rants when I eventually make them. I generally do spaces on my Twitter account. It's at just a copy with an I at the end, and I usually just every week and I just talk about whatever the subject of the week is, whatever inseldom topic of the week is, or just talk about just whatever I saw this week while trying to lose this very non-pleasant state of being an incel.
Well, I appreciate you taking time from your adventure and your quest to come spend it with us. I really appreciate it.
It's a Monday.
Yeah, well, I guess to start off, I know that Maeve had a question that she wanted to give us at the beginning, so we're going to pass the mic over to her, and we're going to let the discussion flow. Maeve, take it away.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a really, really basic question, but I think it's one of the hardest ones incels have to answer. And it's okay, you have to think about it. What do incels want from other people in society? Like, what is it that society or other people can offer them that they're looking for? So basically, what do incels want that isn't just like one girl to sleep with me? Because we have to think about what you're asking from other people as a society, especially when you're like on your Twitters or like ranting or but venting. But there sometimes seems to be like this idea no one cares about us, but what does care look like, if that makes sense?
Yeah, well, I guess just to put it more succinctly, to the incels on the panel, what do you want from society? Go ahead. Whichever one of you wants to go first.
Well,
guess
I would say just a sense of like kind of acceptance. I mean, a little bit. I mean, it bothers me how when most people think of incels, they think of people like Elliot Rodger and people like that, and they focus on the handful of bad incidences, and they just when you say you're an incel, like I don't like it when they equate being an incel to being a terrorist, because it's just absolutely a little ridiculous. And in my opinion, I would say 30% of the male population probably is incels. They just don't identify as one. But if you are to strictly mean involuntarily celibate, then there's a lot of men who fit that label. I've been in therapy for 4 years now, and it hasn't really done much for me. And I think the mental health industry kind of has an anti-male bias. So this mainstream, this people for people to stop seeing us as these crazy evil men who just want to go around and hurt women when they shut them down and stuff. It's more complex. Incels, in my opinion, that some do want sex, but it's more complex than that. And I think we just want to be seen by society as human beings, and we're people too. And a lot of us, I'm a rape victim myself. I was raped by a woman when I was 15, and when feminists talk about female rape victims, it's so much empathy and compassion and all that stuff. But when I talk about me being raped, it's like, oh, you're not owed anything, and you're just entitled, and you're still toxic and privileged. And that's part of the reason I started to align with the incel movement, because it's like I'm a victim of trauma, and there's other men out there who kind of, I just felt like I could freely express myself within that community. So yeah, the main thing is just acceptance, and we're human beings too, and we're not evil, terrible people trying to kill everybody. Like, we're not this little caricature that the media portrays us out to be. So yeah, I think that's all I can think of.
I want to pass the mic to Copy and get his answer, and then I want to hear from especially Ghosty and Maeve, and Sekrios, obviously you too. But I want to hear your response to their answers as well. But go ahead, Copy. The ball's in your court.
I guess to complement a little bit what Mr. John, I still don't know what to call him. I'm just gonna call it Joni
Yeah,
at this point.
fine.
John,
That's
okay,
actually
so
my real name, but it's all good.
to complement what John said, I really do believe that what most people want in the end of the day is a little bit of I guess you could say acceptance, but I guess much more acceptance that there are things out of your control that can hold you back. We live fundamentally on a society that has been raised to always think positively and to ignore problems when, again, like I said in the beginning, like problems that most people are not affected by it. It's impossible to explain inceldom in a certain way to someone that didn't go through the experience of continuous rejection, solely because people are just do not seem feasible to don't seem like it's feasible for someone to just be rejected by the way that they look or because of something out of their control, like for example autism. I guess in the end of the day, what we would really want is kind of a relief in sort of way that we don't have to repeat ourselves every single day that no, we are not terrible human beings. If anything, we are just too shy for our own good. And we really need, in the end of the day, some kind of reform, so to speak, to especially psychology when it comes to handling not only men's issues but incels issues. And this is like me paraphrasing some. I've again been on this part of the internet for way too long, and I've read a bunch of studies about this. One of them, a lot of them actually, like 3 or 4 of them, have been very thoroughly researched the success rate of psychology when it comes to incel patients, and the numbers are always consistently less than 10%. Because you literally cannot talk your way or psychology your way out of being both ugly, autistic, or having some kind of other trait that is out of your control. So I guess acceptance in both an actual help and an actual, straight solution to the problem, like not a solution, but maybe either a solution or maybe some kind of better coping mechanisms
Okay.
for the people that are not going to succeed in the looks department.
Let's pick this apart and let's talk about it. But first, I want to hear the reactions from Ghosty and Maeve. Like, so this, you just heard their answers, what they want. Is that reasonable to you?
I do think it's reasonable. I do think I think the whole country has a mental health crisis, and we can break it down into like different sectors. And I think a lot of what I just think a lot of incels. I think there's research on this. Like, there's just like a lot of depression, anxiety, things like that in the community, and there's no like. I feel like the only place they're finding a voice or finding some kind of acceptance or inclusion is in these online incel communities, probably, which I don't know if it's helping. I'd like to like talk to them about like what it's like to be in these communities and what they actually consist of and stuff. I'd be curious to hear about that.
They're here. You can talk to them. I mean, that's what they're here for, right?
Like, so do you guys think that the incel communities online specifically like have helped you at all, or do you think they're like more toxic?
It's the roll of the card, to be honest. The roll of the dice, I mean, to be honest. It really heavily depends on your problem. Because imagine you're just someone who has been unlucky for a time, right? Say that you're just like a 20-year-old, fresh out of high school teenager. You've been rejected by all the girls you've been seeing on your local area, or you just enrolled to college or something like that. Of course, consuming this sorts of content It's over unless you're very attractive. It's over unless you have these and these and these stats. Of course, it can be a little bit, it can be toxic, and a lot of times it is. This is why I particularly don't like young people around these parts. Back in the day, there used to be like a lot of age restrictions around these areas that with Twitter, with the bans of the subreddits and with the rise of Twitter, it kind of just, we cannot check this anymore. So there's like a lot of young people just mashing
How
around
would
these
you
communities.
how would you just I hate to interject, but I'm just very curious.
Oh,
How would you
no, go
check
ahead.
it? How would you check it before in the past, right? What were some of the mechanisms that you had to police your own community?
A lot of them just give it away, to be honest. Like, for example, there is no shortage of quote unquote incels, because they're not really incels. They're just angst teenagers on the internet.
Okay, what makes an incel? I guess let's start there. Like you keep
Both.
saying things like Joan said this too, right? That there are people who may not identify as incels that are actually incels. So what do you think is an incel? Like what do you consider an incel versus just an angsty teen who hasn't got laid yet?
I would say someone who, despite after puberty, of course, because puberty is one of the biggest events of your life. If you're giving up before you even finish it, I mean, what are you doing? Let's be realistic here. I would say anyone over the age of 21, or someone who finished puberty, who, despite multiple tries and multiple attempts, and after bettering their looks, going to therapy, trying this and trying that, still didn't manage to find anyone. There are people who just straight out just refuse to try. I mean, I've been hearing about the stories of these 15 to 19-year-olds who just come to our spaces and say, oh yeah, I never actually tried hitting on women because I'm not peak human being attractiveness Chad, and this just pisses me off, because I've been out there, right? Like I said before, I've been out there trying for like 7 years at this point, right? The time I've been involved in the incel community has been the same time I actually took steps to improve my social life and improve my looks so I cannot be an incel anymore. So to see people just not trying and just say, no, I'm incel because I'm not attractive, but I'm not trying though, it just boils my blood a little bit, to be honest. I just don't like it. But other than that, the community itself is great. It's the only place you can realistically talk about how hard it is for dating is if you're autistic, if you're ugly, if you're not that socially well adjusted like everyone else. It's one of the few places you can talk about this without receiving unsolicited advice or receiving gratuitous hate or a bunch of like red pill or red pill light grifters trying to sell you some shitty course.
Tell you their
So
book.
Yeah, I wanna pass the mic to Maeve and Sekrios too, because I want them to be able to interact with you. I have more questions, but I don't want to hog up the mic here. But go ahead, Maeve, please.
Yeah, so I mean, like I hear the first part when you were first talking, like yeah, it makes all sense to me. Like, being accepted. Sometimes I think we as a society, mostly women, don't really understand the pressures on men to lose their virginity. There is a certain time frame that men are expected to have lost their virginity, and there's a little bit more of a penalty socially on men for not losing their virginity than there is on women for not losing their virginity. In fact, some would even say that it's actually in some cultures better for women to have kept their virginity. But I think in the West now we've shifted a lot more. So it's not like women don't have any penalty for being late in life virgins. Like there are some women who struggle with that, and that could be a turnoff for some men. There are men who don't want to date women who are virgins, absolutely. But I think the penalty on men is still a lot higher. It's a lot like more intense, and you're kind of like mocked a bit more by other men, and then sometimes by women too. And like the kind of the term incel being thrown around as a slur, to kind of like talk about virginity, to attack men on their virginity, as well as like obviously other parts now like misogyny, but that has been a thing for a while. So there is that penalty, and I do understand we need to like kind of like re-examine that and talk about like why are we doing that, why are we virgin baiting and shaming men. At the same time, there's also in the community, just one point I wanted to say is that, yeah, you can have like friends in the community, but they're not real friends. And I think one of the things about incels is this loneliness aspect. And they go to a community like the incel community and make what they feel are friends, but then those friends disappear over time, and there's no actual friendship made. It's like a friendship based on circumstance and a friendship based on like depression and negative emotion. So that when someone leaves the community or finds a girlfriend or just gets happier in life, then those friendships like dissipate and drop. So there's that kind of fake sense of community. And I think that kind of catches a lot of incels involved in it. Also, the rhetoric around women is usually pretty negative. So at the end of the day, I think incels are turned off women by being
Well,
in the communities. It
let's
doesn't make them
Mm.
feel more.
let's take these one at a time, right? Because you're
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
if we
I
can.
know.
Let's talk about, I guess, the last thing you said about the perspective of women, or the how women are viewed in the incel community. I want to ask this to Joan and to Copy and Sekrios. I promise we'll get you in. I promise. Okay. But do you? And I'll just ask you directly. Do you blame women for being an incel?
Me personally, I kind of do, because me being sexually abused and raped, and the fact that it was done by a woman who was homeless, it just kind of ruined. It just changed how I saw sexuality, and I've just been hurt a lot by women, and I think, and the crazy thing is, I used to consider myself a feminist a little bit, until the Me Too stuff started happening. And yeah, just seeing men be called toxic, evil, privileged rapists trying to murder women on every street corner, and then like the first
So
one
do
of
you
the
think
women who
women look
came up
down? I guess to kind of make this more succinct, do
on
you think
incels.
women look down on incels in general? Like, do you feel that
Yes,
you guys
I think they do, and I think it's just because of the stereotypes, and they think they're all evil, dangerous, misogynists, and all that, and it's just so invalidating to hear women say believe survivors, but then tell me I'm a piece of shit.
okay?
It's just like, which one is it? And then when I bring up male rape, and I follow some of the men's rights stuff too, and in my state, by legal definition, men and boys can't even be raped, and these feminists don't give a shit about it. They don't give a shit about it. So I don't hate all women, but I do think extreme feminism has just really kind of turned me off, and it's just a back and forth kind of endless
Gotcha.
bickering of all this stuff. But because of my views from women, yeah, I kind of have some issues with them. Not all women, but
Sure.
some of them, sure.
What about you, Copy? Do you blame women for your inceldom?
Do I blame women?
Yeah.
No. Do I think they're kind of stupid when it comes to like virgins and incels and all of that? Yeah, I 100% believe
Hmm.
that. It's what John said. It was I always say that it's kind of a chicken and an egg situation, right? Because incels didn't wake up in the morning hating. If incels hate women, which are not a very big number, they didn't wake up in the morning doing so. Right? They didn't just wake up one morning, just one
Right.
eventful Monday and say, I hate women. No, some shit happened that made them, with due time, have less and less contempt for women. Which
Okay.
sometimes I don't blame them. Like in John's case, I can 100% see why he would do it, and I'm not going to hold it against it. That's like a terrible thing to happen, and I'm sorry it happened to you, John.
Yeah.
Uh, but I don't really like in the most of the cases when I hear people say that they hate women, it always involves some like very traumatic shit, like people being raped or being abused or treated like shit, or like some very big traumatic event that led them to just overall shutting
Hmm.
themselves off from like social, any kind of social interaction for like life sometimes. So I don't hold it against them. I don't think it's correct to hate them all because one person decided to be bad with you, but I
Yeah.
don't hold it against them if they do.
Let's
Right.
oh,
I don't hate all of them, just the extreme ones, the extreme feminists.
got you. I want to open up the discussion though. I want to give a chance for Sekrios and everyone else to respond to that, and then Maeve brought up a few more points we want to get to. So go ahead. This is to the floor. Um, you just heard directly from people who are incels what they feel about women and why. What would some of your responses be? Go ahead.
Um, So I do think one of the problems is like it's hard for a lot of women to sympathize with incels because again, like the loudest voices are the minority and they're the most aggressive and kind of hateful. And then it's the same, I think incels are experiencing the same thing when they see the voices that women share online. It's usually the most radical and the most extreme and the most aggressive against men and incels too. And that's why I think these like the red pill, the black pill, and a lot of like radical feminists on TikTok and stuff, they're preying on these insecurities and pain and stuff and using that to kind of perpetuate this like tension between each other instead of actually having the voices of the majority of these people, the majority of feminists and the majority of the incels that aren't like violent and aggressive or man hating, women haters, and listening to them and validating that these are real issues. And I think we need to do a better job at not labeling these groups of people by these extreme minorities of them, and like letting those be the people that determine.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know,
trying to maybe I'm trying to get you all to talk to each other because I feel like you're all talking to me and then I'm talking to you, right? I feel that that's the dynamic, and I want to make sure
Can I
you guys talk
interject?
to each
Can I
other. So,
interject someone?
yeah,
Can I
please,
interject with someone
please.
real quick? I don't think it's kind of comparable with the red femmes to incels by one single, very simple, like social media observing fact, right? For you to find an incel opinion, you need to go out of your way to look for incels to look at their opinions. For you to find a man-hating opinion, you just need to access twitter.com and scroll for a little bit. I don't think it's both are toxic. I'm not saying they're not, but this is something that I have a pet peeve with when it comes to this entire. They're the same, like the horseshoe theory. Oh, they're both the same, because incels are much more like They were always very much on a corner of the internet. Of course, Ali Rogers didn't help us maintain that way, but we were always on this very little corner, very niche corner of the internet, and women, men, people that just didn't like us, always found a way to like come to us and see our opinions, say like, look at this hateful incel saying this and that, and it's like a single post, sometimes by a user who
I mean,
doesn't
maybe
even
my
mean it, right?
algorithm. So sorry, maybe it's my algorithm, but I
Yeah,
don't.
the algorithm.
Yeah.
It's not very. I don't have to. I can go on Twitter and probably like the first thing I see is going to be some like anti-woman thing, and then it's going to be like the back and forth. But that's probably my algorithm because I've been like into Amber Heard. I'm a huge Johnny Depp defender, and I hate Andrew Tate. So that's probably just my algorithm's really messed up because the past few months
I
I've done
think
research on that.
this is another
But
thing I would say. There's a difference between anti-women, women hatred. Those are very two different things. The
okay.
incel
Are they?
slash black pill, they are. Are you saying that Andrew Tate and incels share some kind of
They don't.
secret agenda, that they're both like we're both friends or something? Like people in this side don't like hide how much they hate Andrew Tate. Me personally, this guy is just a grifter,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah,
hate his
Yeah, I
I,
guts.
agree.
I, I think the reason incels hate Andrew Tate is not because of his base beliefs on women. Not, by the way, not all incels. I'm talking about the ones that we consider like black pilled radical enough. They don't disagree with Andrew Tate's take on women. They disagree with how Andrew Tate says you can cheat to win. They think you can't cheat to win. So Andrew Tate will say women are cruel, shallow, manipulative, horrible, stupid. We'll leave you in a second for Chad, but here's the trick how to be Chad. And some incels will believe everything he said about women, but then they'll say, but there is no trick to be Chad. So like there are incels who believe with Andrew Tate's like base opinion about women, but they just don't believe in his answer. And I think that may not be you, but there is definitely incels who believe women are shallow and cruel and only want 6'6" men and Chad only, and you
Yeah,
have to be Chad or you die. Like, you
but I
know.
never said they don't. What I'm saying is that, again, number like the quote unquote extremes of the corner that you have to find an incel saying this is just like you have to look for it, right? You have to go out of your way,
Mhm.
go to incel related accounts just to find this opinion. With men hating, no. With men hating, you just, again, it goes viral every other week or so. It goes men are disgusting, men are cheating. What do men want? Blah 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 blah. This sort of posts
It's
always
like with
pop
the
up in like
hashtag kill all men.
You
Yeah.
can meet men on, like,
No.
daytime TV. Like, Anna Navarro was on, like, The View the other day saying, like, "Well, men are useless," like, stuff like that. But if there was, like, a group of 5 guys, like, sitting around a table just saying, like, "Women are useless, like, who needs them?" Like, that wouldn't be allowed on daytime TV probably. So I do, like, understand you there, at least.
I agree with the notion as well. I think it is kind of messed up that one rule for one gender and one for another in regards to daytime TV. I remember there being an interview ages ago. It had like Sharon Osbourne, and they were talking about a horrific domestic abuse situation that happened where, without going into too much detail, basically a disgruntled wife stole her husband's sausage and put it in the garbage disposal. And on daytime TV, Sharon Osbourne straight up like laughed and said, "Oh, I can't help but imagine seeing it spin around down there." And I'm sitting there and I'm like,
Mm.
yo, if this was like a group of dudes and they talked about some other body part of some other gender, like it would instantly be canned. Like the whole show would be like ripped from the ground up and everything. And the fact that like they thought it was okay to do like is genuinely like pretty messed up, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think
Go ahead, please.
going
and then
back
I
to
have
just sorry, I just wanted to go back to like how incels perceive women. And obviously I've met like non-misogynist incels. Like there are actually lots of them, probably more than people give credit to. And there are also people who are in the middle who are like slightly misogynist or slightly don't like women, but they're not full blown and they're probably more normal because a lot of men in general, like not a lot, but like there are a lot of men who don't really like women. I mean, that's just kind of a feature, right? Not a bug. And then there are some other types of men. But what I'm trying to say is a lot of the perceptions of women in the incel spaces is so negative. Like it just gets to the stage where if you were hanging out in incel spaces all the time, I wouldn't like the women. I mean, if you think women are only in it because you're tall or because you're white or because you're good looking and that's it, like there's nothing left. There's nothing like about that that's loving or interesting or wholesome. Like it gets to a stage where you just don't want it anymore and you're like kind of frustrated because you do, but you don't. So like what do you think about that? Like is that not a problem for you guys?
It is a bug, not a feature.
Really?
Yeah. It's just a natural consequence of like of course with due time you go through, like in my case, you go through so many rejections, you just stop seeing like love being possible, like at all. Like attaining unrealistic uh the unrealistic goal of love is just impossible for someone with my stats. And unfortunately, you like it or not, we talked about this multiple times before, these kinds of things matter. You cannot just overlook the fact that you having certain traits, again, be it both a combination of autism and poor looks, or just poor looks with poor height and just poor mental health in general, it's going to cause you to be in a situation where love is unattainable and you're going to grow to be very jaded.
Do you think
Yeah,
if
and I can understand that. Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, go on.
No, it's fine. Because I want to touch on that a moment. Do you think that the incel as a community, incels maybe exacerbate that amongst themselves? Like they feed into that narrative, and if you are always around people who are certain that they won't find love, right? That because of their stats, because of how they look, or their various cognitive abilities and things like that, that they can never find love. Do you not think that exacerbates perhaps the problem? That it creates this kind of black pill mentality that prevents people from trying?
Not really, because again, look, I know a lot of dudes who being in the same exact, I mean, not in maybe on the same exact state that I am, but very similar to where I am, where you can, it's the same thing that a problem we have with therapy, right? I don't think being like, of course, being an ambient will make you more aware of certain things, but they're not going to determine your actions 100%. Like if you still want to try have your shot with women, it's not because incel 22235 on twitter.com, because he made a black pill post like in a Thursday morning, you're just not going to hit on women anymore. You're probably going to try, but you're probably just going to be more aware that, I'm probably going to get rejected. The point is, right? I do not think the same way that, when you go to therapy and you talk to your therapist, and he comes up with this new method of coping or a new method of maybe approaching your loneliness. And when you go and try with women, you get rejected, and all of this goes to nothing. It's the same thing with incels. Like, you can just quote unquote say, no, I don't believe the black pill. I'm not going to be an incel anymore. Then you just go ahead, get rejected, and well, shit, I guess they were right, weren't they?
Do you think females approaching would help or not?
It would, but they're never going to do that.
I think that's a
Yeah,
very
I don't think
interesting
women are
proposal,
really
actually.
approach.
Well, hold on. What do you mean by an interesting proposal?
Well,
Do you hold
I
on?
think
Let me ask this. I'm sorry. Do you? I tend to agree with Copy here. Do you think, at least as society exists today, that it is a realistic prescription to change society to say that women need to approach
I
men?
mean, again, they could, but would
that-
they?
This is almost no situation I can think of that normally, right? That women would, as a general rule, be the approacher.
Yes, exactly.
I've
That's
been
the point.
approached by, look, to be clear, I've been approached by women before. That's happened, but far, far more often, I'm the one doing the approaching. And I think that's just a general truism, just in, like,
Oh
in
yeah,
society,
it
yeah?
absolutely is a truism. I think it's more of a question that if it were like in terms of praxis, it might like loosen things up with the tension, maybe, I think. But the problem is it's hard to prescribe societal change because society is comprised of individuals and individuals have their own thing going on.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get with a program, let alone the program.
Go ahead, Joan. You wanted to say something? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, I think it would help some, but again, like, are women really gonna do that? But I mean, but back to what y'all were saying earlier about seeing all the stuff online and all the negative thinking, it can play a small role, but again, like, I'm 35, and once you get shut down so many times, and once you're buying a girl flowers on Valentine's Day, for example, and she just shuts you down, and you're doing everything the movies and society and TV tells you to do, and it's just like, screw it, and you kind of, I mean, I still want to try, but it's just like, it's frustrating. But now, for example, my friend, his girlfriend approached him and asked him out, which is very rare, but they work together. But she wound up cheating on him by sending nudes to another dude, and when she got caught, she threatened to kill herself if he left. So that's not a good relationship. But I mean, it would be nice if women approached, or at least maybe not directly went up to us and asked us out, but at least just gave a few indicators of interest of like, hey, come and approach me and talk to me, because with how I look and how I carry myself, I mean, most women really don't want much to do with me, and yeah, it gets really depressing after a while, and I've just made peace that it's just probably not going to happen for me unless I'm paying for it. But even on the escort sites, I've gotten shut down by them once or twice. So yeah, it's depressing. Yeah.
Here's
To add to what John said, I'm
Please.
sorry, Wick, just
No,
to add to a little bit what John said, and I'm sorry to be the angry black pillar of the night, but even if women did that, they're probably not going to approach us. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
great. It's going to be great news for the average guy. I mean, sure, the average guy will
I
not
agree.
like
Yeah,
meddle with
I agree.
incels like ever again, probably. But we are just going to be stuck here. Like, it's not going to change.
Can I?
Because they ignore us anyway.
Yeah, can I add, like, there's a couple things I want to do here. I see the super chats, and I'll read them in a second, please. But first, let me ask on that, right? And if you're uncomfortable sharing, please, by no means, just bop me on the nose and say, shut up, I don't want to share that. But you mentioned, like, that for you, with your stats, you're just never gonna get, do you believe your stat? What are these stats? Are you like 5'1" or something? Like what's going on there? Do you mind giving us a
Are you
rundown?
talking to me?
No,
John,
to Copy, please.
John, I think you should go
Oh,
first.
okay.
I'm going to tell mine later.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, my stats. I'm about the height thing. I don't think is always true. I've seen some short guys get women, but I'm about 5'9" ish. I'm about
Okay.
280. You know, I'm kind of out of shape. And I'm a care provider for my mom who has dementia, which means I'm living with my mom, which automatically disqualifies me from the dating market. I don't really have a job. I do DoorDash to make some money, and I have PTSD and other mental stuff. I'm trying to apply for disability with SSI, but I'm waiting for that. But you know, I mean, um, and I'm just not. I'm not really desirable according to most women, and like it's just really painful, and it's
I
painful
understand.
even when you try to ask a girl out. Like, I used to agree with feminist stuff until 2017ish. Like, I used to read Virginia Woolf and all that stuff, and Mary Wollstonecraft, and I don't agree with all the red pill stuff. Women should be able to vote and equal rights and all that stuff, but the extreme stuff now is just a little crazy to me. But yeah, my situation, like, I don't have a lot of money coming in. I have mental problems, and I have problems
But there's a
with
yeah.
sex. Like, I've tried it, so it's just a lot going on.
Yeah, no, I get you,
A
and
lot going
I'm
on.
not meaning to be dismissive or anything right that, but the like the things you say, there's a couple that jump out to me as fixable, right? There are some things that they're fixable, like the income being one of them, as
Losing
well
weight and
as well as the weight issue. So I mean, again, I'm not here to judge you, man, but what have you tried making steps on the just going to the gym, right? And working out.
Or
Those one things.
reducing carbs.
Yeah,
yeah, I've tried that a little. Oh, gym maxing, that's what they call it, right?
sure.
But yeah, I've tried going to the gym, and maybe that would help. I don't know. But even if I lost weight, my self-esteem is just, I'm not your average pissed off 20-year-old who's mad because the sorority girl won't sleep with him. And not to get off topic, but the whole Elliot Rodger case, I don't like him personally. And the funny thing is, he
Me
actually
neither.
killed more men than women, but the narrative never says that. He killed 4 guys and 2 women, but they make him sound like he's the supreme woman hater of all time or whatever. But personally, I'm not a fan of him. But anyway, but back to the discussion. Yeah, the real thing, like, money would help, obviously,
Yeah.
but I can't really work because I take care of my mom, and I make what I can doing like DoorDash and Uber and stuff, but it's not enough. And women now, I mean, women want a guy making at least, 40 to 60 grand a year, and and it's just tough. It's just tough, and
I'm with you on
Yeah,
the
I
tough.
don't really know what to do.
I'm with you on
Would
the
I
tough.
I?
wanted to jump in
Yeah,
there.
please,
I
May.
wanted to jump in there to
Okay.
talk about like when incels, and like some incels are like really self-aware, and like I think you're obviously one of them. Like some incels are really able to talk about why they are in the situation they're in, and they're like able to pinpoint, I'm living at home, or I'm like blah blah blah. But some incels are very like, especially the young ones, and I'm very much more interested in younger
Mm,
incels because I feel like that's where a lot of the like super vitriol is coming from. So like you'll have like a
mm,
21-year-old who's just like forcefully like hateful, and then you're like, well, what's up? What's going up with you? And then they're like, oh yeah, I just don't have a girlfriend because girls are stupid and girls are picky and shallow and
mm,
they want 6 foot men. And that's kind of the problem with the black pill, is that like it enforces that black and white thinking for especially people who aren't that self-aware. So you get like these guys who are just like full on hatred of women because like that's how they perceive it. And then you'll have like other people who are just like a lot more understanding of their situation. So that's kind of the problem. Like the narrative of the black pill is my problem, not the situations of incels at all. Like
The narrative, you should
Would it?
consider that the narrative of the black pill is just an unfortunate consequence of independent people having some more unfortunate situations than the others. Like again, in John's cases, and you know the other guy who I'm talking about on Twitter, and he constantly makes very hateful posts like all the time about women. You know who I'm talking about, Mister.
yeah.
Like they're both like one is like the other guy is disabled. He's not autistic. He's straight up disabled. Like he probably has like a expired date to live. He's probably gonna die in like 1 or 2 years because he told me he was gonna
That's
do
a very
that.
extreme
oh
case.
wow.
And I'm not talking about
I
him. I'm
mean,
talking about a 21-year-old, like who's like otherwise quite fine. You know what I mean? Like, but who has that like
yeah, but
inability to
these people.
understand their own situation.
Yeah, but these people, again, there's a reason why these people shouldn't be around here, and I make my best efforts to like weed them out. Me, the guys at Twitter, we always make the best effort possible to like, weed them out because they shouldn't be here in the first. Like it's like you said, like they shouldn't be in the first place. They don't have the self understanding because the problems that don't apply to them. First, they're not going to understand what their problem are if they don't have a problem.
Do you
Would
think?
it be okay if I like ask a question?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I've been like listening to all this, and I was wondering. This is like a question for like all of you. Do you think that the phrase "intel" gets overly applied, especially where it may need not apply?
Yes.
All the time, especially now. When
People
you
Uh,
see women,
people
for
used to,
stopped
example,
using.
like, yeah.
No, I was just gonna say people stopped
Maven
using the
Ghost.
word men
Yes.
hating
No.
to use incel now.
Well, like when you see women call married men incels and stuff, and men who got boyfriends incels, and they're just doing it out of spite or just
Yeah.
to they use it. It's like how the word fascist got overused, or the word Nazi, or oh you're a fascist, and now incel is
Does
it's
anyone
not as
disagree with
extreme as
that?
that.
Yeah, but like
Yeah,
I
that's what
think
I
I
was
it's
don't
trying to ask.
disagree,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
I think the online incel community did that in terms of like
No,
I started this like 4 years ago, and no one I knew in real life knew the word incel. I would
no, they
say, "Oh, I
didn't.
do.
Come
I'm
on.
looking at incels." Like in 2020, it was like, "What's an incel?" Like
I mean, it's
now,
because of
it's
the pandemic.
everywhere. Yeah, but what happens, I think, is that as we said before, men who've been like late in life virgins have always had a certain social penalty. Like
Hmm.
I like people are kind, but they're like, oh, what's wrong? Maybe is there something up with that guy? He's like, what's up? Like that's a hard stigma. But I think the word incel came in and gave it another stigma, misogyny. And
Again,
that is what has led to this. So the incel online force has actually led, in my opinion, to the forward, like further
Maeve,
stigmatization of
Maeve,
virgin
I
young
want to pick
men.
on that for you because I think you're wrong, and let me tell you why I think you're wrong. Okay, I know,
Oh.
crazy.
Okay.
But I don't think that the incel community is the one that did this. What happened was we had some horrific events that involved an incel or a self-described incel, right? Um,
Mm.
kills a bunch of people, gets in the news. Then the normies pick up on it, and it becomes a new way to attack people they don't like. That wasn't the. It was only
Mhm.
the incel community's doing insofar as they enabled, and we're gonna get to that, right? And they enabled these bad actors in their space. But as an insult, it being used as an insult, it's simply the fact that it became the normies became aware of it, and I think that the way they became aware of it was not because of the incels advocating for themselves, but it was because of the horrific tragedies that took place or the attacks that took place, which involved the incel community.
I wouldn't
I
even say
agree
So
through
I
with
just
Rick
horrible
wanted to go
here.
back on
cases.
that.
I'm sorry to say, but I wouldn't even say it was because of the horrific cases. I would just say more it's because of the pandemic. The way that it happened, it forced everyone to be inside, and because it forced everyone to be inside, people just got too many like free time, and they started researching on things that they probably like could, like they probably shouldn't. Like the whole like. I was a member of the subreddits back in 2020. Before 2020, we had less than what 40 to 30K users. After 2020, we exploded to 130K. Blame the pandemic. It wasn't the incels doing. We like what
Yeah.
is even the reason for us to like, hey guys, look at me, I'm a fucking loser. Like what's the benefit on that? You know?
Oh, you
Said
got
We're
a
not
lot
winning
of you
earlier.
got a
anything
lot
here.
of social capital, and I'll let May push back in a second, right? But you get a lot of social capital with having a quote unquote disability or having a something wrong with you. Look at
Yeah,
how
but not
people
if you're not if you're a
weaponize.
man.
Hmm? Say one more
But
time.
not if you're a man. And if your problem is being a virgin and ugly, people just make
Why do
fun of you.
people
Spit on
take
you.
incel as a term if not for some benefit that they think they'll derive it? Like you mentioned this earlier, that you think that a lot of people are coming in, they're self-identifying as an incel, but they're wrong about what they are. They're not an incel. Why are they doing this if they don't think that they're going to at least accrue some sort of benefit from it?
Two cases. One,
Please.
again, they are clueless and they just think that their situation like applies to the tag when it really doesn't. And the second one, and this is why unfortunately I kind of agree with you and Medved when it comes to like the social benefit part. It's because they want to attach themselves to the name, but not really. I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm sorry,
I
but I'm
think
just gonna
it's
tell you a
okay.
story.
No,
There,
let him
there,
finish
there,
his
there was
story, and then we're gonna go to Maeve because Maeve wants to fight me. So go ahead.
there,
Okay.
there was
Story.
there's like a bunch of guys on Twitter, right? Again, it's been around a long time, and they've been using the name incel for years, for no reason other than because they never approached women. And because they were like fresh out of high school, then just entered college. Lo and behold, a lot of them, after they gained some numbers, some fame, they started posting their faces, their bodies, just attaining attention to themselves. Like, look at this guy, he's a woman hater, but he's hot. And like lo and behold, in like 2 or 3 months time, they were off the community because they got what they want.
Okay, I want to
Yeah,
pass
but I
it to
think
Maeve. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the whole history of the word incel is like pretty interesting itself, but I won't like obviously talk about it. But like if you think of the R9K boards from 4chan, that's where like it all came from, right? The depression, the nihilism, and a bit of like the 4chan misogyny just clued itself into that. And then when that all died, then we had incel boards. And the problem is you can say like, hey, like we're actually like, I look, I'm the first person to empathize with incels individually. But at the very least, you can say you have a massive PR problem because if you Google incel and you go onto the incel forums, unless of the very special ones that are still banned, incels without hate and all that, a lot of the incel forums, you go on them and they're terrifying to people. Like I've seen the type of stuff that you would expect from Stormfront, but about women. And that's terrifying to people. Now, you can say, look, that's only like a tiny minority and everything. That's okay, but there's no counter website for incels that's like opposite to that. And a lot of the Twitter feeds on incels just kind of corroborates the forums. So the only impression people are getting is this like crazy, like intense hatred and nihilism. And I know that's not the real case for a lot of them. But I don't know why that isn't being challenged by most of the community.
It's
That's
not
the
being
problem I'm
challenged.
having.
It's not being challenged because we both know that the forums, quote unquote, thrive out of owners' idea of free speech, and the owner's idea of free speech is the same thing you would find in R9K and 4chan and all the image boards. So unrestricted freedom, even if it means to offend people, which again I don't 100% agree. I understand, and I respect it. But the point is, I don't think it's fair because you're again going out of your way to go to a specific place about incels to like search that, and the average Twitter isn't very collaborative with the forums, if at all. Like you see the people, like you know that there are certain on Twitter, there are certain like actors that act upon hatred, but most of the guys just post, "Fuck my ugly, stupid, unsocial autistic life," and it's just a repeat of that for like 7 years at this point. So
I want
Jones,
to
go
say
ahead.
something. I want to ask a question. Back to the whole, some of the incel forums basically being Stormfront, but it's about women. The real number of people killed by incels over a 20-year period, maybe 50, and then the percentage of that being women, I don't know. But there was something I found that basically said cows have killed more women than incels, but the media wants to call us terrorists. The point I want to make is, I mean, where I live at, there are 0 women staying in my local domestic violence shelter because of incels, and it's not the incels. Sure, they may say some crazy shit online, but they're not the ones out here really doing harm to women, not in my opinion.
I'm gonna let you
You
finish.
know,
I'm gonna let you finish, but as soon as you finish, I gotta get to these super chats. But yeah.
sorry. No, it's just like, and I don't, and I've seen the bad rhetoric, and and to me, incels under the age of 25, I mean, 20, 30 years ago, this would have just been late bloomers, and now it's just like this. I don't know, but I don't agree with the violent rhetoric, but I don't think it's really accurate to say that incels are creating the most harm for women when, like, it's just, who's the one really making them single parents? It's not people like me. Who's the one beating them up? And then the bad, I don't know. It's just crazy because,
Yeah,
Well,
like,
I agree with that. That was my problem. Yeah, but I agree what you said. But I'm just saying, in terms of the PR or the representation of incels
right, I
online,
get what you
it's the
mean. Yeah,
community that's
the
not doing
media
them
is
much favors.
definitely,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm just gonna before you read super chat, and I'm sorry to interject again, Wick, but I'm just gonna say one thing before we finish this and let you read the super chat. Even
oh, we're
if we
not done.
were,
I'm gonna we're gonna keep
Oh
the
yeah.
discussion, right?
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. I was just gonna say that if it really wouldn't matter if we were like these wholesome chungas, 100 people that didn't insult anyone and just cried about our problems, because again, and you always miss this, and I don't know why you always miss this. Before we had incels, we had Forever Alone in Reddit, and before
Mm,
incels became a thing, r/Forever Alone was the mocking center of of Reddit and the internet. Everyone would mock people who posted in that place, and people would mock everyone in that place. So it's not the
yeah.
hatred and it's not the PR that made people hate us. It's simply because people love to engage in Schadenfreude, laughing at the
Hmm.
destruction of others. It always been that way.
No, I don't disagree with that. Let me get through these super chats, and I have a question for Ghosty and Maeve and Sekrios. And then we'll
Okay.
probably go on this direction and see. But let me get through these. $10 from Infallible Fowl to say the stigma goes both ways with incels. We'll never fix a problem when both sides are filled with hate based off of fear. Society is lonelier than ever. We need to find a way to break the chain. Thank you for the $10. $2 from Testicle Johnson to say Stacy's only want Chads. Frowny face. $2 more if only my face followed the golden ratio. And then $2 from B-Man Scout to say, can cishet men ever be free from virgin shaming? And $2 more from B-Man Scout. Don't act like disabled people don't get laid. And then finally, $5 from Fairy Queen. Is there a difference between political lesbianism and being an incel or a MGTOW person? If so, what? And we can answer those.
MGTOWs,
Yeah, go ahead.
MGTOWs are much more close to political lesbianism than incels, because political lesbianism goes for the same way that we don't need men, we hate men, we don't need men, and incels is like, well, I need women, but they don't find me attractive. Now what do I do? And I just want to address another thing that the guy said, that disabled people don't get laid. Statistically speaking, they are very much less likely to do so. And not only that, I remember reading a very fun stat that men are much more likely to accept a woman that's disabled than, vice versa. A woman accepting a guy that's disabled.
A stat that kind of implied the opposite, but
Let me ask you, Ghosty. I'll ask you first. Ghosty. You find out that the person you're assigned to work with, or someone that moves in next door to you, you find out that they're an incel, not just like but they're like an incel, like a real incel. Um, does that cause you any concern or worry?
um, I mean, not just being based on the fact that they are an incel. I would have to like judge obviously their kind of interactions with me and their characters, but just going off of like they self-identify as an incel, no. I would probably try to be like I was just kind of that person who was always like really trying to be nice to like the quiet people or like the people who were like kind of excluded from the group and stuff. I was kind of that person who always wanted to like kind of talk to them and stuff. So that's just my personality, but
Do you think that that's generally the case, though?
probably not. I think most women would probably feel a little worried maybe.
Now, what about you, Maeve? I know you've been working with them for a while, right? But so maybe you're the wrong person to ask and the exception to the rule. But yeah, you find out that there's someone who's involved in the incel community who is an incel, move next door to you. Are you worried at all, and why, or why not?
Like if they were part of the forums, but I mean the forums, and they were like only in those like intensely like hateful forums, it's not that I'd be worried of being hurt, but I would definitely feel like the guy next door hates me. Like, that's just gonna be part of my feeling. Like if I knew he was like talking about all the stuff that I've seen the forums talk about. I mean, it's an uncomfortable experience. Would I be afraid? Not like if it was a murder, that's afraid. I'd be afraid. But if it was a guy who was on the forums, yeah, just a little bit uncomfortable.
Wick, can I interject with
Yeah,
something real
please.
quick? I don't know. Sorry, Strat. I know they wanted to speak. Finish what you have to say, then I'll interject with whatever I have to say. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I don't think anyone else wants
Good.
to say anything, right?
Really?
Yeah. Hello.
Wait a minute. My mic popped off. Okay, it's back.
Okay.
Sorry, my mic does that sometimes. I
All
have a
good.
really bad microphone. But I just wanted to say something. If you unironically, okay, are over the age of 18 and you still believe in things like Riz, I'm sorry. You haven't grown enough to be in this discussion about incel.
Why? Hold on. Do you
Well, are you
really
not
believe
skibbity
that?
enough, my dude?
I'm not Sigma enough. I'm sorry.
Do you not think that someone's charisma, that's what Riz is, right? Their charisma, their ability to talk to women, can affect their success with women?
I think if a woman is speaking to you, it means that she's already interested in you. So whatever you say will work.
Well,
That's
I'm
pretty
just
bad
gonna like I
ideology.
I've
Of
had
course, like
I've had women who are interested in me and then I fumbled, and I've had women who
yes,
weren't
okay, but
interested in me that I through again talking with them and as the kids would say, rizzing them up, they became interested in me.
I mean, they probably were kinda interested in you, and you talking with them just sealed the deal, because if they're not interested in you, which what happened, which I'm only saying this because I did the mistake of opening the chat when you finished reading the super chats, and a lot of people were saying, why incels just don't have
Reading
riz,
chat.
it's
Okay.
yes, I'm sorry, I sometimes do that, it's a very bad habit of mine.
Yeah, never read chat. Like it's all silly.
Well,
Yeah, it's
let's
all
finish your
silly.
point. Finish your point, and then we'll discuss it. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, but I don't believe if someone isn't attracted to you, they will not want to talk to you for once, and for twice, nothing you say will make them attracted to you. There isn't a magic set of words that will make someone attracted to you. If they are interested in you, if they were to stay with you, it's because they had interested in you beforehand. Attraction isn't created by words, unfortunately. Because if it
Question.
was created by words, I mean, pickup artists would be the gods of the 21st
So
century,
I
and they're not.
remember, and I'll just say this, right? And then I'll open this up to discussion. But I remember being very young and being in the old internet, the AOL chat room days, okay? No one could see you. You didn't know what anyone looked like. But I promise you that people formed relationships based simply on the words that were shared.
Yeah, but that's the gist of it. Because back in the day, people didn't use, and that's why I always say that social media is what exacerbated the existence of incels. Because back in the day, really looks, I would believe that after social media became like a mainstream thing, it wasn't just for the nerds and for the geeks, and it just opened up for everyone and the grandma to use with Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or whatever. Things changed a bit, right? People decided to take more into looks than to take into personality. There is a reason why you see a bunch of dudes just suddenly giving up on women, saying that they got rejected once by their looks and they think it's all their mistake, when most of the times it's not. People, like men, are so insecure about their looks that they popularized looks maxing. Looks maxing was nothing but a niche community of like very over the top analyzers of things like Gongian angles and pentel tilt and a bunch of like very discrepant, and don't look it up. It's just very unhealthy for the human mind. It's literally a cognitive hazard. Don't do that. Um, but the fact that these kind of thing got popular nowadays
Yeah, but
shows
that's
that there is a
that's been the
bigger.
way.
No,
It's
it's
been the
way
way
on
for
the different
women
stuff.
for a long time. Like, I
Is
think
it
it's something,
really?
I think guys, and I actually like empathize with incels and all men, because I feel like it's the first gen, or at least the second gen, where you started to realize that women are attracted to how men look in a certain way, in terms of like, back in the 1950s, as people love to talk about, like there was more of that pressure to marry fast, very early, and marry the guy who's stable. And that could be attained by a guy who just got a pretty decent job at the factory when he was 20. But that is no longer the case. So we're having women who are, for the first time, taking their time, meeting new people, and dating people they find kind of attractive. And that doesn't mean the bar is like up here. It does mean that like they are looking at how like guys look in some ways. And like guys have been
Yeah,
looking at how girls look for a long time. So it
yeah,
is kind of the first time guys are being exposed, I guess, to
but
this. And I'm not
but
like
there is a
blackpilling you, but that
difference.
is true.
But there's a difference. Again, that very funny statistic that everyone likes to share about how women rate men versus how men rate women. Realistically speaking, social media just, of course, messed up everyone's perception of looks. I'm not going to say that this is a men or women only issue, but women are more susceptible to media. This is a fact. And they are more likely to reject you because, I don't know, for something like, oh, he was too short. Like the
Mhm.
person could be like the guy could be like a actual good person, but you would know because you just look at his height and say, you know what? I want my man 6'2". I don't want my man 5'2", right?
Makes me
And
think
it
that
just
you're more
starts happening.
susceptible to media when you say things like that.
Sorry,
Can
sorry.
you repeat
That
that again? Sorry, Ghosty, you cut out.
like when I feel like a lot of the incel I was listening to somebody William Costello or something today. He said like in the incel community there was like a lot of LSM looks, money, and height, status, and they overvalue these things. And like when people, if incels are overvaluing these things, that makes me believe that their influence on media is also very very high. I don't think men or women are any less susceptible to influence by media, and especially when guys are saying like of course yeah women are very attracted to they want like kind of a guy taller than them. Some women exaggerate like how tall of a guy they want. That's true. Women are attracted to guys with money, and status is can be like an attractive factor for women, but like these things are very overvalued, and I don't think that's a generally realistic standard.
It's generally realistic for incels because here's the thing that everyone misses in this discussion, right? Because when incels talk that they can't that they it's about looks, money, status, it's about looks, money, and status for the incel problem. The incel problem is not the same thing that the average person is having. Because when incels talk about their problems, they're talking about the initial attraction. You know, what makes a woman, like I said before, what makes a girl look at you and want to talk with you or want to engage in conversation with you and not outright say, get out of my face, or sorry, I'm taken, or sorry, I have a boyfriend, or any kind of rejection cop out you're probably going to listen throughout your lifetime, right? Of course, personality matters after you start talking with someone, but incels are not on that step. They are on step 0. I have to attract someone to talk with them first.
Don't you think there's some, but don't you think that there's situations or contexts in which you have conversations with people that aren't romantic in nature? I know that at least back in the day, and this might be, we might be moving away from this societally, and we can have a discussion on whether that's good or bad. But a lot of relationships started because people worked together. They spent a lot of time together. And through that experience, women who may not have given the man a second look at the club or at the bar were able to interact with this person and realize that, hey, this person is actually what I want. They have the values that I'm looking for.
It's called
You
mere
you are
exposure.
you are correct, Wick, but there is one major problem in what you have described. And as a fact, we do live in an age now where dating co-workers is like frowned upon.
Again,
And
that's a problem. I agree with you. I think that if there's one thing I will agree with the incels on today is that we have less and less spaces where it's okay to approach women, right?
Yeah, third spaces have been
Especially in
killed by
public.
women. I'm sorry to say, but
By
third
women?
spaces have been killed by women and men as well. But men and women both killed third spaces because women don't want to be approached. Like women are like outwardly saying that they sometimes don't want to be approached. Of course, they when they say that they mean that they don't want to be approached by the men that they don't like. But with the fact that we have less and less high trust societies with due time, and people are, because of social media, again, people are always paranoid. Oh well, like fucking, like women and men alike are always like, oh yeah, that guy's trying to kidnap me, that guy's trying to rob me, and people are just more paranoid and less likely to talk with a stranger. People are more paranoid, more afraid. It means that less approaching is going to take place and is going to be effective.
Let me
I
ask.
think as well, the rhetoric towards men have become kind of dysfunctional over the years, especially with that TikTok trend. I think we all
Can you
know about
elaborate on
that
that?
question.
What do you mean by it's become more dysfunctional? And then I have a question for everyone, but elaborate on that. I'm very curious where you're going.
I think somewhere along the line there is a contingent. Now, obviously, we're not meant to say all insert group of people here, but there is a contingent of feminist-minded people that will look at the man versus bear question in terms of the forest, and with
Yeah.
sheer cognitive dissonance, they will always pick the bear. as an emotional
Mhm.
argument, it's pretty sound. It's like a type of protest. It's a yes, I will pick the most dangerous option. Thank you very much. But in regards to actual statistics, actual data, actual exposure time with different creatures, it's like the bear logically is still the more dangerous option. And what kind of signal does that like send per se that you would pick the emotional argument over the logical one if we was to take the Mars versus like Venus approach to psychology?
Sometimes I feel like the incels communities are always talking about the wrong things. Like they're like literally like missing the mark when it comes to actually what's a problem for them. One mark is that like I never hear this in incel communities. Like in media and movies, people with scars, facial disfigurements, or otherwise don't look very attractive are often the villains. That messaging has been reinforced for centuries. Hunchback of Notre Dame was like a hero, but most of the time there were these people who weren't that good looking who ended up being the enemy or the villain or the scary person. That kind of representation is really important to talk about. But I think like this idea like, oh, feminists have ruined everything because they're crazy and they don't want spaces and they hate men and they don't never want to talk to a man again. I think like that just misses the mark about what people are perceiving in others. So for one thing, like we should have more incel-like characters in movies who aren't the school shooter boy and who aren't the guy who stalks you. Like that would be
One,
cool. And then
one that's not
yeah.
gonna sell. One that's not gonna sell, and two,
Why?
it's
Why do you
very
think
it's
so?
it's not gonna
Yeah.
sell because people love beauty. There's a reason why models are beautiful and not ugly Hunchback of
Michael
Notre Dame.
Cera,
Michael
Michael
Cera
Cera in
is just an average.
2010
Michael Cera is just
is
an
a
average-looking white boy. What do you
We,
mean? He's not
and
ugly.
he was seen as the
Most guys
hottest boy on
are.
cinema.
I think
we
Because of
should
his
get Jack
fame.
Black to play as an incel, huh?
Yeah, you know what's funny about Jack Black is that he's actually attractive when he was young because he was like thin, and thin Jack Black, unironically, like is very attractive. He just
well,
keeps his
most
weight up
people
because of
can
humor.
be
Because
attractive. I think
Right.
it's very hard to be like an extremely like repulsive person. Like I think that's very rare. Like
it's
you
because
probably
you've never seen one.
Well, no, let's ask them directly. Hold on, Ghosty and Maeve. I'll just ask you directly. Assuming like let's say whatever status you are, relationship is gone. You're single, okay? For the point of this hypothetical, why would you give these two gentlemen here a chance? Why or why not?
They wouldn't.
well, I have
Be
a
honest.
boyfriend, but I just based on the attitudes, the guy in the middle seems kind of okay, like kind of like more mediocre.
Joan?
But and then the guy on the top too, like I just think you have probably a lot of like inside like turmoil or trauma to deal with, but you seem like a very nice person. I think you're like fixable.
Okay,
And the
that's
guy on
not
the
what I'm
bottom,
asking though. I don't
oh
care
what?
what you think of them as nice people. I'm asking, would you give them a chance romantically? Why or why
Well,
not?
that's what I'm saying. That's like yeah. I think the guy on the top could get to a point to fix himself to like where I would, and
But
then
for now, no. Okay.
yeah, no for probably all of them right now. Yeah,
Okay. What about you, Maeve?
I actually don't know what the bottom two people look like.
It's so funny when people ask us, like whoever I'm with, a girl in this space kind of thing, a question like that. I get this asked a lot. It's like, we don't know if they like us. Like, I don't know if
Well,
they even like me. I'm pretty sure they don't. Like, they're like, I don't want to be liked by her. But if they happen to be interested
For
in
the
someone like me,
hypothetical,
I mean,
yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, I like people who like me. See, that's a whole thing.
and
Like, you know, a lot
incels
of
are
people like people
and
who like
incels are the
themselves.
paranoid ones.
But no, oh, okay. But I mean, like from I don't know your man who has the camera on very well, so I've never met him before. But like, I mean, I know Copy. Like, yeah, Copy. You read Dostoevsky. Like, you're intelligent. Like, you're like an intellectual person. I like intellectual people. Like, this is what I think people in the incel communities should go for. Their strengths. They just don't think about them. They're like, oh, I need to be 6 foot. It's like, well, you
It's
also happen to
because
be like a really
it,
good musician, and you
it's
never talk
because their
about it.
strengths don't matter. Like again, do I have to point
But
out
they
the fact that we have
do.
Very
teachers, we
much
have
matter.
teachers, we have musicians, teachers, we have actual bodybuilders. There's a guy that I know in France. The guy's literally ripped. He's ripped to fucking
That is
shreds, right?
less
He's
attractive to
muscled.
someone like me
Yeah,
than like someone
same.
who reads.
Yes,
You know
yes,
what I mean?
but again, I'm saying that he has a lot of like good traits, and a lot of dudes around here do have like very good hobbies. They're very good people. Some people, some of these guys are engineers, other people are teachers, some are even developers. The problem is just how unfortunately they look. Their personality are great. Like, of course, they're going to be
Not all,
very hostile
not all
towards
personalities
outsiders.
are great.
Of
Not
course
all
they're
people's
not.
personalities are good. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm not talking about the people I interact with. You cannot expect me to talk about people that I don't know.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a question to the
Yeah.
three guys? Oh, if you're done.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, sure. What's up?
So, do you first of all like do you guys want like a girlfriend or a relationship? And if you do,
I
like,
don't.
what do you okay, if you do, what do you want it for? Do you want it for sex, self-validation, or true love, or something else?
I do want a relationship, and everyone just thinks incels just want sex, and that if an incel had sex one time with somebody, that they would just be magically cured. But it's just like with the question asked earlier, would either one of y'all even take a chance on us? I mean, I think incels kind of want to just have that sense of like, I kind of want to say being chosen a little bit. Like we just want to feel like we're not these ugly freaks that society
I
has
am
told us to
looking for
be.
love. I have been looking for love for 7 years. Been looking for love for 7 years, and love has been running away from me. That's all you need to know.
I think there's also a really unfair aspect that people like lay on incels. So, for example, and I'm like, this sounds like I'm being really anti-woman right now, but I'm not. It's just that some women who find the incel spaces, I see kind of unfair like ideas like, oh, you're acting like you're entitled to sex, or you're acting like you need love, or you like basically the narrative is if you're not looking for love, everything else is like disgusting. Like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, how many of us were teenagers and dated somebody who we didn't love. We just thought they were cool. And then like that was just a dating experience, and maybe you lost your virginity to that guy who you don't even think about anymore. Like this is a normal like level for most people's first relationship. But incels, I feel sometimes are being put on a threshold where like they have to be looking for love and everything else is disgusting.
Well,
And I think
hold
that
on.
that's a bit of an unfair
Let's ask them directly.
like
Like
insult.
you mentioned you're looking for love. What does love mean to you, Copy? When you say love,
Somewhat.
what do you mean?
The more I
What
it's
is
concerned that the
love?
baby don't hurt me. You
Hurt
know,
me, don't
it's
hurt
kind of
me no more.
This is now a
Sorry.
karaoke stream. Thank you.
yeah.
But go ahead. No,
Sorry.
give us the answer. What you got?
Would
It's
I be able to answer that previous question? I didn't want to interrupt, but like
No,
I've
go
been
ahead.
kind
Go
of
ahead.
like
Yeah, go
transition.
ahead. But then I do want to get from Copy. But yeah, you can go ahead and answer that. Go ahead.
Okay, so like a bit of background. So like when your name's Maeve, right? Maeve,
Yeah.
Maeve, yeah. Okay, yeah. When you
Maybe.
ask like what like people want in a like relationship or whatever, here's the thing, all right. I've climbed the mountain, all right, twice actually. But the problem is my last relationship was incredibly like toxic for real. Like this was a person that would demean me. They would demean my father, etc. I won't name them, of course, because that's like rude and everything. But she was literally she basically left a really bad taste in my mouth. And I think I learned from that whole experience that, yeah, it's all like fun and games to like, like boing or whatever. But the reality is a relationship's a responsibility. You can't like, you need to both be able to provide, but also have the mental fortitude to put up with the BS when the BS shows up. And neither of that like kind of came through at all for either of us. So I've mostly been married to my work, basically.
Okay.
Man,
Yeah, fair enough.
I wish I could have a better experience so I could marry my work. You got a good deal, I'll tell you what.
Well, I want to hear responses to what Sekrios just said, but then I wanted Copy to answer my question about love. What that means.
It would be the basic notion of having someone that actually likes you for who you are in companionship. It doesn't really go away from the generic answer for me, because for me, I find it very hard to believe that anyone would find me attractive ever. So probably having that and having someone who's actually willing to put up with like with the fact that I'm not that experienced, I'm not that great when it comes to dating. It will be just a very good experience for me overall. I guess I would
Can I
think that.
rebuttal? Can I rebuttal what
You
he
can,
said?
if you want to, go ahead. I can stop you.
Okay. So I think the best way to say it is it will fuck you up for a few years, like 3, 4,
What?
like
No.
mentally. But I think after those 4 or 5 years, when you mentally recontextualize everything that happens, your brain is both more fortified and more neurologically like adaptive to the social phenomena. You're able to like translate the previous signals, and in a way, you somewhat improve for it. But I would not wish it on anyone, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could at least have the experience so I could, have the experience per se, because that's the hard part. Like,
This
I think
is
like another problem with the
go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to be like another problem with getting involved in black pill spaces is that, and in present company excluded, much so, okay? But the more down you feel about yourself, like, oh, I'm so ugly, no girl will ever want me, this is it, this is the end. If strike of lightning, a girl does come along to them, which has happened, and shows interest, and that relationship starts, that mentality that they have such a low self-esteem inevitably will drive her away so fast that in 3 weeks' time, he is like crying about the fact that basically self-fulfilling prophecy,
Yeah.
and that is a problem that has happened to incels before and does happen. And that's why the mentality of your community, ironically, is the mentality that's probably going to keep you in stasis. And I think like that's something I wanted to, yeah.
Piggyback off of that, because I mentioned this earlier, and yes, this is one of the concerns I have with incel spaces as it all is it engages in reinforcing these self-doubt, and self-doubt is in fear. Both of these are mind killers, right? As Dune says, right? They create this barrier that does not need to be there. I don't know either of you. This is my first time meeting you, Copy. It's my first time meeting you, Joan. You both seem like well-spoken individuals at the very least. I'm just having trouble, and this may be just because I'm a normie, right? But I'm just having trouble understanding why it's impossible to get anyone who loves you. Now, I can understand why you can't get a 10 or something, right? Or a 9. But do you what I guess this will be my question. What are your standards, right? When you look for a woman, who don't you approach? Because Copy, and I'll talk to you first about this. You mentioned you're actively seeking, approaching, looking for. What
I
women do
would
you
say I
not
would even
approach?
go ahead and say that I'm more socially active than probably a lot of people in Twitter and even a lot of places. I would say that I constantly go to nightclub. Like Medved had like she follows me on Twitter. She sees that sometimes I just post a picture of where I am, like bar, like party or whatever. Then I quickly delete it because don't want to get doxxed. Happened sometimes before. Uh, and again, I've been going like it's not like I haven't been proving to try that, okay, to try to hit on women that I want for over like 7 years. Again, I've been going to the gym for 4 years. I've been doing all of this just to look the most pleasing to the women that I kind of like. And what the kind of women I like both women who are into like nerdy stuff. I mean, surprise, surprise, the guy that's a little bit introverted likes nerdy stuff. So and I've been to anime cons. I've been to like all this, meet and greet with both like anime games and whatever, and that never works. I've tried going for party girls during some time of my life. That also didn't work. That actually worked the last because party girls are like extremely picky about their looks. Not like the nerd girls weren't the same.
Yeah.
They said, party girls
I
at least are very straightforward with
I
that.
Yeah, I guess I'm asking, and maybe this will help clarify. And maybe I said the question wrong or something. That's my bad, right? But I know plenty of women who would consider themselves, and we can get into this discussion, themselves, women who do want someone,
Mhm.
but they can't find a man who wants them. And I'm just wondering, like, is there a cutoff, right, for you looks wise that you're like, I'm just not
Obesity.
obesity
I
is
mean,
your thing.
I go to the gym. I am physically active. I have good muscles. I get complimented by my muscles all the time. I'm not gonna settle for a girl that at least doesn't put a little bit, a tiny little bit of tiny effort on their weight. But that's that.
Do you think maybe if you lowered your standards just a bit, looks wise at least, that
I
maybe you'd
mean,
have better luck?
if I tried hitting no obese women, no, because I got rejected by them too. So tough luck.
Yeah.
Joan, go ahead. You can answer the same question.
So his last statement, it's just like I've seen it, and it happens a lot. You're far more likely to see a big girl with a skinny dude than a big dude with a skinny girl, unless he just has money or something. And dating apps have just made it so girls can just get a hookup, and they've messed things up. And I've been on dating apps swiping for hours, only getting no matches. But in terms of what's the question? What do we want? What are my
Yeah, like
standards?
I'm
Is that
just
the
saying,
question?
is there what are your standards for women is the question, right? Because
Right.
again, if uh, as I said, I know women, right, who are struggling, who don't they don't look good. They're fours, they're threes. Um
Hmm.
and they can't find a man.
I mean, I'm 35, and right now I'm talking to a woman who's almost 50, but she's a little too old-ish for me, and she has kids and stuff. But someone closer to my age um would be good. Maybe someone in their late 20s. Someone like I'm kind of a nerd myself, and I used to be a journalist and used to be into history and all that. Someone who I can do, like, I like to visit graveyards, for example. um Someone who I can do stuff with, like go to the art museum or go to the flea market or doing old people stuff, like holding hands and cuddling and stuff like that, like just someone who I can be intimate with. And really, I guess the really another key important thing is just someone who cares about my feelings, because I've been abused and a lot of people just didn't really care about how I feel, and social media arguing with trolls and stuff. Just someone who's genuine, someone who takes care of, because I'm taking care of my mom, someone who at least cares about their parents a little bit. Um, Looks aren't really all that important to me, but obviously, if you're attractive, I'm gonna be more into you. But I'm willing to lower my standards on that one. But just someone who I can see myself talking to for a long period of time,
Okay.
and just yeah, like I don't know. I mean, just a genuinely
Fair
like
enough.
Can I
good
say
person.
something as well?
You can. Go ahead.
Uh, I've went like I've tried hitting on like the club girls and whatever. I think it's always best to give like the timeline of events when I was like younger, right? And because another thing that people love to say about when I mention the whole, oh, you tried going for nightclubs, bars, and whatever, and of course, shallow people are over there. I actually had back when that happened a very good-looking wingman. Like this is like a guy that you would look at it and say, "Holy shit, you are attractive. Why are you still
Mm,
stuck with this very ugly dude on your side?" And we're very good friends. We've been good friends ever since we were kids. He's a bro to me even to this day. And he's like the first person I actually open talk about my insultdom with, and he's been cool with that. We make banter out of each other a lot of times. But he's a very cool, like very attractive guy. So of course he never had problems with women. And he was the one that kind of helped me through the nightclubs because I'm not a very, nightclub bar guy myself. I've been with him because I really just wanted to get this over with, get a girlfriend, get the sex. Let's kind of move on. Let's move on with life. When I was 18, that didn't work, unfortunately. And then as I grew older and made other groups of friends, and again, that's not a flex, but I very easily can make friends with people. Again, the benefits of living in a third world country where no one is cold to each other like you people are in first world countries. But as I made friends, I met more men, I met more women, and I again went to these other spaces, like gaming spaces, anime spaces, whatever, and I still got rejected. And even the gym, and I still got rejected. So
Gamers
Yeah.
rise up.
gamers rise up.
I know,
Veronica
right?
took the kids.
There's two more things I want to do before we wrap this up. Okay. Well, I'm gonna get to these super chats real quick. So that's one. So three more things, I guess. Get to these super chats because I need to make a little money. The second thing I want to do is I have a question for the panel as a whole, and then lastly I have a question for Joan and Copy. So that's the order of events we're gonna go into. And if any of you have things you want to bring up, feel free within that. But let me get to these super chats, and then we'll get back to the discussion. $20 from Glenn Lawrence says, could it be the lack of trying to improve oneself or the desire to have a victim mentality keep people in the incel community or mindset, therefore making it a personal problem of not wanting to improve themselves?
Uh,
I
I
believe
can
you
answer
addressed
that real
that.
quickly.
Go
I can
ahead.
answer that really quickly. No, it isn't, because it doesn't make sense for you to have a community with people that are always depressed and sad. The objective of the community is to leave, and we are always trying to leave. But the problem is that most of us cannot.
Fair enough. $5 from Parallax. The problem is not with your stats. The problem is with your strats. It's a skill issue. Doesn't mean it's not a problem, but stop blaming your face. Thank you for the $5. $2 from B-Man Scout to say people often say they're romantic likes, not needs. $5 from B-Man Scout. Stop trying to be hot to the widest array of girls. And then $10 from Fairy Queen. According to a study from IFS, male sexlessness rates fell after 2018, while female rates increased. By 2021, female sexlessness surpassed male rates. Is the sex recession over? And then she gives a link to the study.
The Pew Review study
Ooh.
that was showed last year shows that there is a surplus of 18 to 30-year-old men who have no sex, but not the same for women. So the recession is not going down.
I think it was like 30% or something, or
Yeah,
30% of men are
What's
like
the
now
age
virgins.
bracket for this study?
I don't know what the study that she posted,
don't
but
know.
mine is 80 to 30.
Okay.
I think what's really interesting is that.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
I think
Then
it's
I have a
really
question. Yeah.
Okay, I think what's really interesting is that a lot in the incel spaces, but not just, and also red pill spaces, is there is like an idea that like men have to suffer more than women. So, for example, the stat that men are more likely to be a virgin is more valuable. So, like, it's almost like if women overtake that, then suddenly the incels feel like invalidated. But why is there like that race? Because I think there's this feeling of like, no, we have to have the majority of us has to be more
Mm.
likely to be virgins than
Uh,
women. And one reason is because there is an implicit understanding that, as I said, the penalty of virginity for men is just more intense, but it's not really spoken about or understood a lot in incel spaces. So it has to be more like, no, look at this statistic is showing us suffering. Meanwhile, if women overtook that by, like, if there were twice as many women who are virgins, would that invalidate the incel position? Like, would you not be incels anymore? But why is it so important to like harbor into like, no, we're more oppressed or we're more like dealing with this than women? Like, why is that? Why is that so important?
are you trying to compare it to like the oppression Olympics or something, or like we're trying to
I
be
was
A
about to
little, but like,
say.
victims?
I'm not being so cynical, but I want to like unpack like why you think it's so important for like men to be worse off. Like, why is that so important for you when you're
It's
still in the same situation?
I guess it's not about men being worse off. It's about when we have a problem, it's not taken seriously.
I agree.
Hold
I
on. Does
think
anyone think
in
that's
general
hold on
terms,
before you go, Sacrios. Does anyone, Ghosty or Maeve, do you disagree with them here?
That was the men not being taken
Yeah,
seriously.
that when a man comes with an issue of, hey, I'm having trouble with women, or just having trouble in general, abuse, rape, any of these things, they're
Rape,
taken far less
especially when you're raped by a
seriously
woman.
than when women come forward with this.
When we're talking about abuse and
Yeah.
sexual assault, yeah, I do think that men's issues aren't taken as seriously as women's issues.
Okay. Do you agree or disagree,
I
Meg?
I agree, but like before people like label that as a feminist like issue, like why that is because of feminism. I actually say that's true, but that's because of like you're gonna hate this word, patriarchy. But it's true
Oh
because of the
Lord.
standards of
Oh,
masculinity. For example, and this is really dark, one of the reasons why young boys are more likely to be victims of sexual abuse than young girls is because young boys don't talk. Because young boys are
Right.
conditioned not to talk about something bad or a feeling or a negative stuff happening. They're more easier to keep in secrecy. So like the idea of men not speaking has been used and weaponized against them. So like when men come out and say,
that's
"Hey,
like
I
a
was,"
circular thing, though, isn't it, Maeve? Right? The
yeah,
reason that
right,
men don't come
yeah,
forward is
totally.
because no one takes them seriously, and no one takes them seriously because they
But
talk
that
about it less,
I
and
don't think
it's
that's
just
why
a
they're not coming forward, though. I
spiral.
think it's like the tropes. I think it's the tropes
Well,
that we would like put on men to be like, oh, you have to be
yeah,
strong and not talk about your issues, and oh, you're a pussy if you go see a
yeah,
therapist and talk about your feelings and stuff. I think that's probably more
totally.
where that comes from. It's conditioning.
Well, I
Yeah,
want to let May
yeah,
finish. Go
yeah,
ahead.
exactly. No, that's exactly it. Like people think like, oh, because feminists have taken over and it's only women who get cared for. But it's like, actually, this is because men have been kind of like conditioned in this negative way not to speak. And when they do speak, who are the people who are more likely to tear them down? Unfortunately, it's men. They'll be like, oh, don't be a pussy. Oh, your girlfriend hit you. Oh, did you hit her back? Oh, lolly, don't be a pussy. Like that is more conditioning that men like inflict on each other. And that's like the problem
No,
as well.
that's also a fault of women because men would show their
Yeah,
feelings if
but we're
women
also
reciprocated on
conditioned.
that.
No, well, why women only?
women
Have you
will
noticed how many
like women
men are
will
working on incels? Like how many guys come into your spaces and give
Ah,
really like nice and empathetic advice
No,
and don't just say, buy my course?
how
How
many
many
women?
guys
How
are
many
actually
women did that?
interacting? There's a
How many
few
so
every
women are
week.
doing that? There is not a few every week. The women that are there every week they're just like they're just there because they enjoy the freak show, not because they're giving out advice. None of them are
Like
giving actually
truly,
good
if,
advice.
if you're thinking of feminism as like a sisterhood, as like women getting together to talk about
It's
women's rights,
nothing to
where are
do
your
about
brothers?
feminism. It's not about feminism.
Okay, well,
Women
I'm
in
just saying, like you're putting it on women a lot. Like you're saying, women don't care about our feelings. We come for it, and women are the ones who say, "Oh, like go back." Where's the men? Like you never think about like that kind of conditioning around like masculinity. There should be more men interested in incels
Well, I think there's a
because you're men.
there's an interesting dynamic here. And I want to ask you this, Maeve, right? Um, how many women's shelters are out there for abuse
Oh,
and things
loads,
like that?
yeah.
Loads. How many men's?
Oh, I'm not denying this. Absolutely, yeah.
So I
Where are the
don't
men
know if
setting up
this
men's
is
shelters?
something we can just say men just need to be better at. It feels like a systemic
lack of
issue.
resources.
Well, men could open more men's shelters.
Yeah.
with
Men
what
could be
government
more supportive
support? You
of
guys
women.
have government money and
Y'all
support for
didn't hear
everything.
that
We
story of
don't.
that man who opened
Men
up the
do have
shelter
government
and then the
support.
feminists tried to shut it down and then he killed himself? I forgot his name.
Ah, that's that story. The guy tried to open a men's shelter. He failed, and then after that, he killed himself, and he got mocked for it later
Forgot his
too.
name though. I don't remember it off the
Like
top of my head,
I'm not trying to
but
blame, by the way. Like I
me for example, like I went to a domestic violence shelter due to abuse from a woman in my life and mostly women there, and it's mostly a woman's shelter, and it did feel really weird kind of getting a little bit of support from them. But at the same time, society in general just has an anti-male bias. The therapy industry in my community, 90% of therapists are female, and the modern education system is telling young women that men are trying to rape you on every street corner, and you're not hearing about male sexual assaults on college campuses. It's just men need to do better. Men need to do better. And like suicide, for example, most suicides are men, and then women want to be like, oh, well, that's a men's issue. And I'm like, I've had women hang up on me when I call the suicide hotline. I don't blame the freaking patriarchy for that. So
and I'm not trying
there is
to
a lack of resources for men. I do
I'm not
believe
trying to
that.
make any blame. I'm not trying to be like, oh, men need to do better in this horrible blamey way. I'm just trying to like open up the question about like when people talk about the 90% of therapists are women. Why is that? Why aren't there more men in therapy? Like as therapists. It's not me blaming. It's not me saying men should do better. It's just like sometimes we need to open the doors to be like, there is a problem, but are you putting the problem in the wrong mailbox? Are you blaming it on feminism? Are you blaming it on women? And I'm not saying you are, but sometimes they see this and it's like, well, what about men joining therapists? What about men
What
becoming
right,
teachers? And
right.
there's all this conditioning that stops men from even wanting to talk about these things with each other. And I think that's where we need to actually like really focus on
I
sometimes.
think philosophically speaking as well, there's always a bit of a difference between an ideology based on paper versus how an ideology could be used and weaponized by different demographic groups.
Mm.
I think like anyone could quote unquote call themselves like a feminist, but then maybe like secretly seek the benefits of the system in play to get a leg up, so to speak.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. One more question, and this is to everyone. To what extent, if any, does the way that media, and in particular pornography, what role did those institutions, for lack of a better word, play into the problem of inceldom? The media's
Oh, I can answer it.
portrayal of relationships, as well as pornography's portrayal of what's attractive and sexual and things like that. I want to open that up, and that'll be the last question we discuss before we kind of wrap this up. But yeah, what are your thoughts, gang?
Okay, I think I tell it to you like this: there's a few ways to go about it. We could either talk about it from the way men and women are like presented to have different like moral, social responsibilities in social, romantic, and like sexual relations. But I think more from like a boiled down viewpoint, when you actually hear these producers talk about the different shows they make and the kind of narratives they want to tell, sometimes they want to break down an archetype that they personally despise, but sometimes it looks like they're seeing ghosts. I got a really good
Mm.
example. So, you guys familiar with House of the Dragon?
Yeah, I saw the new episode yesterday.
Hey, no
Okay, did you?
spoilers, gang. I will.
No spoilers. I promise you on my life, I will give no spoilers.
Okay, let's hear.
Mm.
It.
There was a show before the actual new episode came out called The War Room, and they would like talk about everything that went on, yada yada of the previous season. A very particular night character, I think you know the one I'm talking about, was referred to as an incel by this lady with these big spectacles and this like kind of gelled hair. Your stereotypical mainstream establishment, like liberal, kind of feminist woman. And she literally referred to the night as an incel. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, lady, have you even watched the show? I'm pretty sure he's
Right.
anything but celibate. Like, what is she on about? And I think it says a lot more about a person to accuse someone who isn't an incel of being an incel than it does about the person they're talking about, I think.
Thoughts?
It's an overused word. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
but
I
go ahead.
absolutely agree with that. Like Euphoria had a character that dated Kat in the first season. I can't remember his name anymore. But his first introduction is he sits down next to this girl and she turns to him and she goes, "Oh my God, are you an incel?" He was like, "What? Am I
Mm.
giving off school shooter vibes?" And then she ends up kind of dating him, but like that's their first interaction. And the only reason she says that is because he's shyer, he's smaller than the other male characters in the show. And it's so telling. Like they're trying to make this guy into like this nerdy, creepy almost guy who happens to be nice, almost like this flip of what you think he's going to be. It's like that's so shit. Like, we shouldn't be like this is just demonization. Any show that like uses the word incel, I'm just like so suspicious of. And I think that is a slur or an insult. It's just so cruel. Like it's just ridiculous. Like, yeah,
I think as well,
absolutely. I
it's
agree.
it's like a projection of the ick factor as well. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah, totally.
To be fair though, in that show, the girl who said that to him was kind of demonized for. I think it was kind of a take on like judging her for saying something like that. I don't know. They just,
Really?
but I don't
Okay.
know. That's how I perceived it. But
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
but I understand.
No. Any other thoughts on this? And then we'll go to the lightning round and closing statements.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
So I
about
think,
femcells.
Please.
go
Go
I'm
ahead,
ahead.
sorry.
Noah.
I was just gonna talk about femcells. I've always said this, and I'll keep repeating this because, again, I don't know why people keep memeing this into an existence, but femcells don't exist. Period. Women always had a chance to get relationships. Always have a chance to get relationships and have a chance to get sex. I mean, it's obvious, but I understand, I don't want to get sex, I want to get love, but that option is also very in the open for women. Biggest proof of that, again, I have this one guy on Twitter. He's like one of the mods, was one of the mods, and he's one of the mods of the forum, and he has the same experience that I do, that most women in quote unquote femcel spaces all, like mostly, if not all, have ex-boyfriends and ex-relationships. You rarely, if at all, find a women of quote unquote femcel who's actually celibate and actually never had like relationship, sex, nothing. Like, I don't understand why people are trying to meme this into existence when it never existed. I mean, it probably existed back in the day and probably for lesbians, but in the general like existence of today's society, it doesn't. So
Thoughts on this? I'm curious.
Oh,
I mean, my mom is kind of femcel in this context of like, make sure she had relationships and had sex before, but like probably once around her 30s, she's just stopped dealing with men. And I mean, in my opinion, I mean, and maybe it's more of a choice for her, but I do think femcells can exist. But I will say that in the online spaces, most of the so-called femcells I've seen actually have boyfriends while they're talking to me, and it's just like a joke at this rate. But I do think there are women, especially just like with me being a victim of abuse. I've heard stories of women who've been abused by men who don't feel comfortable being touched by men anymore. And they just, I'm sure there are some out there who maybe they become lesbian. I don't know, but they don't deal with men, and probably due to trauma. And in that context, I think femcells can exist, but it is rare. It is rare. But with the stuff online, yeah, it's a different ball game. But in my opinion, the homeless 60-year-old man who might have had a girlfriend in high school, in my opinion, he's an incel too, because who's gonna want to talk to him? You know what I'm saying? But I guess my interpretation of inceldom is a little different from somewhat others may say, but that's my interpretation of it. Yeah.
Fair
So
enough.
with that, yeah, I do think femcells can exist. It's just not as frequent.
Not as frequent as incels. What do you think, Ghosty? Femcells, do they exist?
yeah. So it's kind of hard to say. I think they do, but it's not like the same definition that like a male incel would have.
Hmm.
Because female psychology, like with sex, is just like different from male psychology. So lots of, I think, incels feel that they would rather settle for something they don't really want than have nothing, whereas many women feel they would rather have nothing than settle for not even something they don't really want, but like somebody who doesn't want them, or just like in that kind of sense. So
that's a
being
privilege.
um well, that's what I'm saying. With women's psychology, it isn't a privilege.
It kind of is a
Yeah,
privilege.
someone described like I think it was a researcher said like sex is like pizza to men. Like I don't know if this is true, but it's like, sex is like pizza. Even bad pizza is good enough pizza. But like it's not like that for
Well,
women, where bad sex is disgusting for
it's
women.
also
So
being
there's no such
wanted.
thing as like, yeah, it's almost like repulsive. Like it's like a disgusting situation. It makes you feel disgusting in yourself. And I don't know. I like to think that maybe there are some men who have like, who don't like, want to sleep with someone they're not attracted to. But according to this researcher, he did claim like, it's a bit more fluid for men. They can do it with women they're not as attracted to. But for women, it's like a disgust response. So then at that stage, it's not even comfortable.
And just being wanted just for sex, or just being knowing that like the guy doesn't want you for you, but he just wants
Yeah.
any girl. The next girl, the last girl, any girl. That's also, it's still a feeling of loneliness. It's just different from guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Any response to that from Copy? Because he had that assertion. Go ahead.
Sorry, I missed the last part. My internet kind of cut off.
Oh, it's fine.
Shit.
Basically, they're saying that the psychology is different between men and women, and that for men, for example, any sex
Oh
with
yeah, no,
you.
that part. Yeah, that part. Yeah, there maybe that's true, but you cannot call yourself celibate if you're the ones doing it. Maybe call yourself voluntary celibate, not femcel, call yourself volcel. You know, you're voluntarily holding up for the person you love, and at that point, I'm sorry to say, you lose all complaining rights because it's not the same problem as incels. Because a lot of people, when they hear the word femcel, of course, femcel, incel, they are equating the two words. The etymology of the word quite literally equates the two. The problem that I have with this is that equating these two problems is completely unrealistic and bullshit because, again, if you're just holding out for the person you want and not because you're like, again, 7 years on the making without any single positive response, we're not the same.
And I want to add too. I don't agree with men see sex as pizza. That any sex is good sex, because I've never had vaginal sex before, but I've paid a few prostitutes for oral sex, and I've had bad oral sex where they use the teeth, and it's fucking terrible. And I'd rather would have just done the fucking job myself, to be honest with you. But it's just like, and not just that, but just the fact that when you're with, whether it be a prostitute or a gold digger or whoever, she's seeing you as a resource object for your money. She doesn't care about your feelings, and the prostitute's probably trying to rush you because she's got other people she's got to see, or she's just trying to get high on crack or whatever, and she doesn't care about you having a good experience necessarily. So I think men can feel taken advantage of. Well, not taken advantage of, but just like, she doesn't care about. She doesn't really want me to enjoy my experience. She's just trying to get her fix. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get her fix, or trying to get her money, or
Yeah.
trying to rush me, or whatever. So I think
Yeah, and yeah.
sorry.
I was just gonna say the
But
last thing I totally agree with that. Like I think like that's why like all these like red pill guys, and I won't go into it today, but the idea of like accumulating wealth in order to get attention is so hollow, and I just refuse to believe
yeah, it's
that
very
most men are
shallow.
okay with just being used for money. Like I refuse to believe that's an experience that men are happy with. So like that's
I
why I don't
mean,
advocate for incels to be like just take anybody. It's like no, like incels are people with feelings too. Like yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
I'm just gonna say something before we continue. I really am glad I decided not to show my face tonight because again, I did the mistake of reading chat and people are just mocking poor John, just left, right, and
We
center.
like John. John is a good guy,
John
and
John
It
is
is
a
I'm
good.
good
gonna.
John's
guy.
I will
Okay.
defend.
John is a
Hold on,
good
intelligent.
hold on,
guy.
hold on. Chat. If you're making fun of John, you're gonna have to
They
come
they
through
they
me.
were
Okay.
all making fun of John, calling him a sleazeball,
Well,
fat,
I'm gonna
disgusting. Like
fight
a lot
them.
of people
Okay.
said that. Like
I'm gonna fight
that's
them. They can pull
very
up. They can shut up, or they can pull up. One of the two.
for
Okay. You got
support.
Like
problems
I
with
just
Joan. You
I
got
really,
don't even
problems
have
with
my
me.
I
camera
just think
on.
it's very bad that I understand not agreeing with the point that the incels problems like go through looks, but if you're mocking the guy by his looks, you're kind of proving my point. I'm sorry to say.
these guys are guys, and that was like one of my
I can't read
points.
the
Is that
chat, so I have no idea what they're saying about me.
Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. You're
I'm
in
on
the
my
arena.
phone.
They're
chat's
just
the worst.
bystanders. They don't matter. Let's be real.
Mhm.
Okay, you're the one actually having the conversation. They're just chitter chattering. They're the peanut gallery. You can ignore them, and I suggest you do.
Right.
It's the morning CNN window where the New Yorkers walk by and
Yeah.
they
But
pull
let's
faces.
say this. There's a lot to talk about here, but unfortunately we don't have forever. So I'm gonna have to call a flag on the play here, and kind of wind this down. I guess the lightning round question I would have, and I mean lightning round, so just quick answers, pop, 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 right? And we'll start with Sekrios and we'll end with copy there. What are you gonna do today to either help incels have a better life or help incels be seen as a less of an insult and more of something that deserves sympathy? Sekrios,
I'm doing I'm doing my part, I guess I could say. I do
you're not
spaces
going
on
in
my
order though, right? Because we're gonna go
I'm
Sekrios and we're gonna get
sorry.
you. We're gonna get you
I'm
last. I
sorry.
promise. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Sekrios.
sorry.
I'm a writer. I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of animated stuff on YouTube. I will probably working a narrative at some point that might give a more nuanced perspective. I think that's probably the most I can do given my profession.
Journalism. Got you. Okay. Ghosty, how will you help an incel today?
I think just like validating what they're saying and trying, is that's my quick answer. Does that
Cool.
make sense?
No, it makes sense.
Okay.
Joan, how about you? What are you gonna do?
How will I help incels?
Or help them be seen as better? Yeah.
Be seen as better. I think kind of just kind of using the feminist tactics, but in a different way. But just saying in the context of, I'm a survivor of childhood abuse. I'm a survivor of PTSD. I was out there during the Black Lives Matter stuff, and I got gassed by police and victim of police brutality. And I'm not trying. I guess I'm just trying to make the point that I've been through a lot, and I've been through a lot of stuff. And like, I think incels, and I've been in therapy for 4 years now. They say
Good.
incels don't want the help. I've tried the help, and I think it's just, there's a lot of reforms that need to be made in the mental health industry. There's a lot of education about incels that needs to be done out there, that we're not all these angry trolls online talking shit about everything. I think men's mental health is a real issue. I think it's a very real problem that 80% of the suicides are coming from men, and it's a real crisis, and male loneliness is a real issue. So I think just kind of just raising more awareness of these issues, and telling the mainstream society that calls us demons to instead see us as people. I think that can help. And and
Okay.
just more awareness, I guess.
Lightning round is lightning round. Maeve, what you got?
Yeah, I'll continue like my Twitter and also like writing about incels, giving presentations and stuff, and listening to incels because I know sometimes they don't agree with me, but I will listen.
Well, I'm glad you're here to listen. And last but certainly not least, Copy, what do you got?
Sorry for yapping too much tonight.
You're
I've been on
fine. Hold
caffeine.
on, stop. Don't apologize for talking on the talk show. Go ahead.
I've been
Never apologize.
I've been on too much caffeine. I'm sorry, but let's just say I am doing my best to help incels. Like every other week or so, I always host spaces. Twitter spaces, of course, is nothing, it's organized. It's much more like free form stuff, so I can talk with people and make sure we always, express and talk about problems that people usually don't talk, because again, incels are very much afraid to talk in big spaces for a reason. If people being mean to me and Mr. John for like the past hour say something, it's because of that. And other than that, I am getting money so I can finally do a surgery and probably look average and then actually find a girlfriend.
Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on, and I hope you think that we, at least us on the panel, haven't been mean to you. I really
Oh, you
do.
people are cool.
Try.
Medve is cool. You people are cool.
But with that,
The chat is poo-poo chat, but it happens.
with that, gang, if you've enjoyed this show, if you've liked what we had to say, hit that like button or subscribe button if you're on YouTube. We do shows like this all the time of all sorts of issues and all sorts of topics. If you want to see this succeed and my show to succeed, donate to the show. Send me a super chat. Send me some gift subs or bits on what's it called? Get a membership with the show. It all helps out, and I really appreciate it. And I want to give each of these individuals a chance to have.
I think the stream went on offline.
What did we get? Suspended?
Oh Lord, they're on
Did
to
we
us.
get suspended?
It's the FBI
Why?
FBI, open up.
because
My
they call us
Twitch chat
terrorists.
got suspended.
Twitch
Oh,
got
no.
suspended.
What
Twitch
did
got
we
suspended.
say that was against the rules? I don't even know.
Because I flipped
What?
the chat off.
Well, if you can still hear me, like the show, now it's just probably haters hating. Whatever.
What?
We'll see what's going on here.
We triggered them.
Yeah, I
It was
know.
probably my story about the sausage. That's probably done us in. I'm
Maybe.
sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
$5 from Fast Surprise. They face so fun show. Thanks, Rick. Anyway, gang, I'm gonna let each of these people have an outro. I'm sorry that we won't have my 50 viewers on Twitch to have that outro, but please,
Oh, no.
tell people where they can find you. And if in the YouTube description, I have links to all their socials, the ones that gave it to me. But yeah, go ahead. We'll start with Ghosty and we'll end with I guess Copy again. So go ahead.
Ghosty, it's spelled 6HOSTII. I'm on YouTube and X. So thanks for having me again.
Well, thank you for being here. Go check her out, gang. I really appreciate you. Maeve, what you got?
You can find me on Twitter. That's it. So like my Twitter handle is there. And yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. Really appreciate you. Check her out. Again, the link's in the description. Really appreciate you. Go ahead, Sekrios.
I am the author of the Obsidian Archives. You can mostly find us on YouTube, the Obsidian Archives. If you like, dark historical fantasy, short stacks, like imp characters, League of Legends, or whatever, it's definitely a good indie animated series worth checking out.
I really appreciate you. Check him out and give him a follow and a sub. Really appreciate you. Joan, go ahead.
So yeah, my handle on X is actually Evil Corgi 69, and yeah, I post a lot of incel stuff on there, and yeah, I'm glad y'all had me on today, and I'm glad I got to talk about this issue because it's very important to me. And if we as a society don't address it, I just feel like things are just going to get worse. So it's good to talk about it.
Well, no, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate you. Yeah, and we'd have you on again, no doubt. Even if I do get banned for it.
Oh Lord.
Go ahead, copy, close this out.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say thank you for having me. My Twitter is probably on his description, but don't follow me. You're probably not gonna like it. I'm being genuine. If you didn't like me speaking throughout the night, you're not gonna like what I tweet. You're probably gonna hate my guts. But if you have a boner for that, I guess you can do it. And before we end, don't ever host no incel space on the gas station. Worst mistake of my life.
Well, okay, fair enough. Well, their links are in the description, gang. I would raid out on Twitch, but I guess we're not doing that. And I guess I'll talk to you guys. Well, maybe tomorrow. We'll find out if my channel still exists. But I do appreciate you all. Thank you for the 10 gift subs, and we'll wait. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye.
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 Bye bye.
Already waving.